If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 300, God, Bonus. Kira put away his dual disc and clapped the dust off his hands. His opponent was a bit stronger than he'd initially expected. The main surprise was when, midway through, the opponent drew in Chaos the Shadow Monarch. Not that this card alone had a huge impact on the duel, but rather because it was inhabited by a spirit. In terms of spirit strength, Chaos the Shadow Monarch didn't feel weak. Even without being summoned, simply bestowing fate energy upon the duelist was quite a hassle. But it was fine, nothing too hard to deal with. In the end, Kira managed to win rather easily. How could this be? King of Yamimakai collapsed to the ground, his breath weak, his body beginning to emit a golden glow. This was the fate of a defeated spirit duel participant. Even the corpse would disintegrate and vanish. I actually lost, even after borrowing Lord Chaos power. Calm down, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. By now, Kira had dispelled his magical disguise and was back to his original self. You're not, cough, cough. King of Yamimakai's eyes widened. Right, I'm not. Kira admitted cheerfully. You, cough, spy, infiltrator. Yeah, that's me. Kira continued to admit it openly, and as he spoke, he bent down and pulled the deck from King of Yamimakai's dual disc. This action caused the already dying King of Yamimakai to cough up more blood. Ugh. With a final spurt of blood, King of Yamimakai collapsed completely, eyes wide open, breathless. Then his whole body began to disintegrate, turning into golden light particles, vanishing into the air. Kira took the deck, continued walking out, and fished out the keycard as he walked. Chaos the Shadow Monarch. A cloud of black mist drifted out, gradually forming a phantom image of the evil god. Those crimson eyes peered at Kira through the swirling darkness, their gaze both fierce and faintly confused. Who exactly are you? By now, Chaos had realized something. The reason this duel had been so one-sided wasn't just because of some traps. He could sense that this person hadn't even used his full strength. But where had this wild-card duelist come from? He thought to himself, though King of Yamimakai was nothing special in his eyes, with Chaos blessing he shouldn't be someone that just anyone could bully. Yet this person had not only won but completely dominated both of them. Chaos pondered for a moment. He was a spirit who knew how to adapt. Teaming up with King of Yamimakai was just an organizational assignment, and now that guy was dead, and this new guy seemed to have ideas after taking the deck, Chaos's mind quickly became active again. As a wise spirit, he should know when to seek a new path for himself. But as the dignified Shadow Monarch, he still had to keep up appearances. So he coughed, hiding in the mist, and put on a mysterious air. To have killed the duelist who possessed me, you're quite bold, boy. But before he could finish, Kira cut him off. Shut up first, I'll deal with you later. Kira simply shoved him back into the deck and stuffed it into his pocket. Chaos. By now, he'd exited the cave, but the outside world had changed dramatically. The pitch-black sky was covered by massive black clouds, like waves of darkness rising from an abyss. Thunder rumbled like ancient beasts roaring and shaking the earth. Then, from deep within the clouds, a surge of power burst forth, at first like a black sword splitting the world, but then it revealed itself, a giant, winding serpent. A terrifying serpent god, its body winding across the sky. Its deep, cold eyes reflected the entire land, its massive maw bared sharp fangs, and it let out a deafening roar. The god of Orichalcos. It's already revived. Kira frowned, his expression tense. This thing had only been defeated long ago by the combined power of the three Egyptian gods. Now, with them gone, if it had truly revived, it would be a real problem. No, that's just a remnant image. Its true body is still sealed, said BLS, floating out and speaking in a low voice. But it's probably coming for us, or rather, for the thing we just found. Kira understood. A millennium puzzle derivative, hey. It was easy to imagine that, after being defeated by the pharaoh last time, the serpent god would utterly hate this sealing artifact. Even in a crippled, sealed state, as soon as it sensed its presence, it would rush over, even if it had to crawl. The minions gathered in the valley had already been scared silly. The Lich King was the first to grovel on the ground, shivering, chanting their master's name and praising his power, hoping flattery would win them protection. It was useless. Even in a crippled state, the serpent god's manifestation was draining. In midair, its huge body writhed as it summoned a massive hexagram barrier that blotted out the sky. All the followers linked to Orichalcos had the hexagram appear on their foreheads and were lifted into the air. No one could resist. Their eyes widened as they felt their souls being pulled from their mouths, ripped out of their living bodies, turning into green light that shot into the vortex in the sky. The soulless bodies then fell like puppets with their strings cut. The serpent god inhaled the souls of all its minions at once, its phantom body growing slightly more solid, baring its fangs and roaring at the valley. TCH, what a mad god! Kira frowned slightly. BLS drew his sword, ready to fight. Silent Magician also appeared. Jinzo looked reluctant, but seeing his teammates getting ready, he had no choice but to put on a brave face. But looking at the giant serpent in the sky, Jinzo's feelings were written all over his face. Fight the serpent god? Seriously? Even if it's crippled, it's way out of my league, right? Just then, Kira felt a warm sensation at his side. It was the artifact he'd picked up, a Millennium Puzzle derivative. The eye of Ojat began to glow. Kira focused. Sensing the serpent god's arrival, the artifact activated on its own. In the dark, thunderous sky, a golden beam of light shot from the eye's mark, piercing the darkness, like the sun's fire erupting from the earth's core. The golden light soared into the clouds, instantly dispersing the darkness, rising to the serpent god's height before exploding. At first, it was a rapidly expanding fireball, but then a shape began to emerge from the flames. In the center of the fire, a blurry figure appeared. It was the outline of a divine bird, slowly spreading its wings, its body covered in flames like burnished gold. Its head slowly rose, and its eyes, burning with holy fire, opened. The serpent god screamed, part rage, part fear, part fury. Because it recognized its opponent, from ancient myth, thought to have vanished from the world, a god at the pinnacle of duel monsters. The sun god, the winged dragon of Ra. Chapter 301, A Professional's Lecture. A god had descended. The serpent god let out a piercing roar, spewing chaotic energy from its maw, a black torrent that ripped through space wherever it touched. But it was useless. The apocalyptic blast struck the sacred flames. Golden light like the dawn, the sun's fire easily dissolved the darkness, like sunlight shredding the night. Then the sun god opened its mouth, its golden body blazing like a phoenix, holy fire swirling within. Divine blaze cannon. The cannon fire, like a scorching meteor, cut through the darkness. Light and shadow clashed for a moment, but darkness was quickly suppressed. The flaming cannon pierced the serpent god's massive body. From below, it looked like the night itself was being torn apart. The serpent god's body quickly burned, stripped from the chaos, falling from the night and turning to ash midair, vanishing into nothingness. After completing this attack, the winged dragon of Ra soared, letting out a sharp cry, spinning upward like a meteor, then turning into flames and dissipating. Kira watched the direction the god vanished, frowning. That was the winged dragon of Ra, the sun god, the strongest of the three Egyptian gods, but not really, BLS said softly. I think, just like the serpent god, it was only a remnant. Kira nodded. Right. None of the Egyptian god cards had appeared. Without cards as a medium, no matter how strong the spirit, it couldn't show its full power. What they'd just seen was probably just an afterimage of its might. Using the Millennium Puzzle derivative as a medium, a trace of the god's sealed power remained, designed for emergencies like this. Only a pharaoh's artifact could command such power. Even if he couldn't control it now, this mini puzzle was undoubtedly a great treasure. If he ever managed to get a winged dragon of Ra card, maybe this thing could help. Even if he couldn't wield it directly, it'd be a good token. Maybe the gods would see it as a approval signed by the pharaoh himself. The battle of gods seemed to shake the heavens and earth, but in reality it happened in an instant. In a blink, Kira was the only one left standing in the valley. All the cultists were instantly wiped out. Even funnier, they weren't even defeated by the enemy god, but by their own serpent god devouring them all at once. Kira could only shake his head at these poor souls who backed the wrong side, inheriting their will through their decks. Don't underestimate this simple task. The serpent god wiped out its own followers in one blow, and collecting all those decks was exhausting. He couldn't even take them all back in one trip. The biggest gain, though, was the spirit he'd encountered along the way. After finishing up, Kira took out the Chaos the Shadow Monarch card again. Black mist emerged, coalescing into Chaos's form. But this time, Chaos was more silent than before, his expression a bit odd. Alright, I've got time now. Where were we in our conversation? Kira asked. Let me think. I remember you were saying something about me killing your duelist and being pretty bold. Caius shook his head rapidly. No, you misheard. Hey? Really? Kira tilted his head. Because it sounded like you two were close and you wanted revenge. Ha, what a joke. Caius snorted, folding his arms in the mist, answering firmly. We aren't close. Kira narrowed his eyes, thinking he was pretty sure Caius hadn't said that before. I was captured by that disgusting serpent god of Orichalcos and had no choice but to join him. I've long been sick of that slimy creature. Now that I've met a true master, please let me serve you, join the fight against the evil god, uphold justice and restore order to the worlds. Caius was full of righteous indignation. Kira pondered. You say you want to fight evil and uphold justice, but you do realize your card is called Shadow Monarch, right? Well, the details don't matter. What matters is, that his monarch collection was one step closer. He'd obtained one of the strongest monarchs, and it turned out to be a spirit. All in all, a good haul. If there was a minor complaint, it was that the monarch spirit was Shadow Monarch. If he had a choice, Kira would have preferred Storm Monarch. But he couldn't swap. Well, Shadow Monarch would do. After pledging allegiance, Caius quickly adjusted his attitude and returned to his card. Of course, he did, could he not? During their duel, he'd already sensed this kid was extraordinary, and what he showed was just the tip of the iceberg, but even that was beyond his expectations. The Sun God. The winged dragon of Ra. A god at the very peak of all duel monsters, blasting the Orichalcos serpent into oblivion in one attack. Compared to that, what was a mere Shadow Monarch? So Caius swiftly settled into his subordinate role. He didn't yet realize that the winged dragon of Ra wasn't technically summoned by Kira, nor did it act on his orders. All in all, Kira had reaped great rewards, tangible ones. He returned to reality with a new artifact, a new spirit, and a pile of new decks. He might owe Kaiba an apology, but in the end, he'd gotten the sealing device the spirits had been passing down. Kira hadn't noticed while wandering the spirit world, but once back, Kira felt the mental exhaustion and, returning to his dorm, was really tired. He flopped down for a nap, woke up refreshed, showered and went to the cafeteria for a bite. Dueling really was both mentally and physically draining. He ate 3 big bowls in one sitting. Full and satisfied, he left the dorm for a walk around campus to digest. As he strolled, he checked his student terminal and saw an unread message from Mokuba, reminding him to sign up for the Duel City tournament. Though he'd already been handpicked by the president to participate, it seemed he still had to go through the sign-up process. Just as he was thinking about filling it out, he heard footsteps running up behind him. Kira turned and saw Jaden and his 2 ever-present roommates. Though it was break time, the boat to pick up students would only come the next day, so most students were still on the island. Hey, Kira. The 3 stopped briefly as they passed. Where are you off to in such a hurry? Kira asked casually. Haven't you heard? A pro duelist. A real pro. Hey. There's a pro at the academy giving a lecture. Jaden was excited, grabbing Kira's hand and dragging him along. Come on, let's go together. Chapter 302, Why is everyone looking at me? Professional? Kira felt a spark of interest. He hadn't had much contact with the pro scene in this world, the closest was the time he dueled that player in the Link system, but technically that guy was only half pro. Actually, maybe not even that anymore. Rumor had it that guy dropped out before his debut, for unknown reasons. Media speculated it was due to psychological pressure from dueling, maybe some sort of trauma made him unable to handle it. Kira was puzzled when he read that. Such a promising rookie, why quit? He'd dueled him and found his skill decent. Kira couldn't help but feel today's duelists lacked mental toughness. So you got ganked by Kuruba and Lava Golem, that's nothing. If that's enough to spook you, what gives? But that wasn't the main pro scene. Kira was still interested in learning about it. Maybe one day he'd win the world championship and make some extra cash. Actually, in this world, not all top players went pro. The title of world champion wasn't as prestigious as Duel King from the original series. For example, the original Tomb Keeper trio, the Doma 3 swordsmen, and legends like Joey and others never went pro. The pro scene certainly represented top dueling ability, but not always the very top. The true masters didn't always appear on stage. Dragged by Jaden to the venue, Kira found it packed. It was winter break, so most students were just waiting for the boat back, with nothing to do but sleep or come to the lecture. After all, many students at this academy hoped to go pro, and hearing from an active pro was a rare chance. There were no seats left, so Kira and the others had to squeeze in and watch from the back. Oh, so that's a pro duelist. Jaden's eyes sparkled. A well-dressed man stood on stage, in a tailored black suit with a black bow tie. His face was sharply defined, with a neatly trimmed mustache, and he moved with elegance and composure. But rather than a duelist, he looked more like a bartender. Doesn't really look like a pro, Jaden muttered. You really have no eye, Jaden. That was Chaz, arms crossed, popping up behind them. That's Maitre D, 8th ranked in last season's Pro League, Chaz said with a snort. Hey? That uncle? Jaden was shocked. But maybe because they were standing close, their conversation was overheard by the pro himself. He wasn't offended, he just glanced over at Jaden, then smiled elegantly. How rude, it's still a bit early to be calling me uncle, Maitre D said with a smile. But duelists, like fine wine, only improve with age. You students may have talent, but you still lack refinement. Without the passage of time, you can't become fine wine. Jaden was confused. I don't really get it. What do wine and dueling have to do with each other? Ha, the world of dueling contains everything one can find dueling truths everywhere. Maitre D laughed. As for me, I study the way of wine. My dueling is like winemaking, you need to be picky about ingredients, respect the craft, and, most importantly, honor time. The ingredients are the foundation, selecting the best grains, fruit and water is the first step to great wine just as a finely tuned deck leads to victory. The craft is key, even the best deck is nothing without a skilled duelist, just as fermentation and distillation require careful control. And finally, the most important thing. He smiled, raising a goblet of red wine that swirled with his gesture. Time. Good wine needs to age, just as life requires years of honing. A duelist without enough experience can never stand alone. That's why I, Maitre D, have achieved my position in the Pro League. As soon as Kira heard his voice, he frowned. It sounded familiar. He thought for a moment, then suddenly realized. Crap, isn't this Madara's voice? This guy, known as the Pro League's number 8, was just a background character in GX, but his Japanese voice actor was the same as Madara from Naruto. No wonder as soon as he started spouting dueling through wine he had flashbacks to Do You Want to Dance? Memes. He remembered, in the anime, this so-called pro beat Alexis' friends Jasmine and Mindy, but then quickly got stomped by Alexis herself after she was brainwashed by Sartorius. In short, he was basically a background prop, albeit a high-ranking one. He was clearly a wine fanatic, like a martial arts master who combined wine and swordsmanship. His deck was also wine-themed, mostly anime originals that never became real cards. Of course, words alone are hollow. I'm sure it's hard to understand. But no worries. Maitre D smiled, picking up his dual disc from the podium and strapping it on. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll make an exception and give everyone here a demonstration. He scanned the students, asking. So, which student would like guidance from the Pro League's number 8? Of course, plenty of people wanted to volunteer. Dueling a pro was a rare opportunity. But it was also a chance to lose in front of the whole school, so many hesitated. After all, whoever went up would represent the academy. If they lost badly, it would be embarrassing. As for who everyone thought was both strong enough and worth watching. A few seconds later, Kira looked around and sighed helplessly. Why's everyone looking at me? Chapter 303, Professional Duelist. A minute later, at the request of the crowd, Kira, the student's hope, put on his dual disc and stepped onto the dueling platform, facing off against the professional player, Maitre D. Of course, if the only concern was not to embarrass the academy, Kira might not have been the student's only choice. At the very least, Zane Truesdale, known as the Academy Kaiser, also had a sizable fanbase. Although Kira was already widely recognized as this year's Rookie King, some fans still insisted that Zane was the true number 1 at the academy, representing the very peak of Duel Academy. And though Kira was strong, he was, after all, just a first-year student. Until he and Zane had a direct showdown, not everyone believed he could surpass him. But if strength wasn't the only consideration, then there was little hesitation. More than 80% of the students felt Kira was the right choice. For one simple reason, he was fun. As Jaden always said, dueling should be enjoyable. And everyone agreed that Kira's duels were the most fun. It just wouldn't be right not to let a pro player share in that fun for once. If Kira performed normally and let the pro experience the joy everyone else had felt, everyone would be happy. If, by chance, the pro reputedly the 8th best in the profession performed exceptionally and suppressed Kira, that would be a major feat and worth celebrating as well. No matter how you looked at it, Kira was the most interesting choice. And so, the event unfolded as such. Kira stood opposite the professional duelist. Since everyone has unanimously chosen you, I assume you must be special, Maitre D said, already drawing his opening 5 cards with a smile. Of course, you're still young. No matter how good the raw material, without time to mature it can never reach its full value. So there's no need to feel nervous or pressured, just play your best. Today, we're here mainly to demonstrate and teach. Winning or losing doesn't matter. Thank you, Mr. Professional, Kira replied, drawing his opening hand and activating his duel disc. Please take care of me. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Maitre Drive, LP 4000. I'll go first. Draw. Maitre D drew his card, then elegantly pinched a card from his hand between 2 fingers. I summon Bacchus the Dizzy Deity, in attack position. A Greek-styled elderly man appeared, his face buried beneath a huge, bushy beard like a fluffy flame. In one hand was a simple yet elegant golden wine cup, in the other a bunch of grapes. Bacchus the Dizzy Deity ATK 1600. I set 1 card face down and end my turn. Maitre D smiled. Alright, student. Show me your duel. He swirled a glass of red wine he'd somehow produced, remaining calm and collected. Every movement radiated elegance. Alright, Mr. Professional. My turn, draw. Kira drew and, after adding to his hand, immediately picked out a card. First, I'll set a card to the field. A set card appeared on his back row, shimmering with golden light. Then he revealed a spell from his hand. I activate the spell card Destruction. Both players discard all cards in hand, then draw the same number. Oh? Swapping out your hand right away. Maitre D chuckled. Didn't draw what you wanted, did you? That's a deck building issue, you know. You can't always rely on hand exchanges to solve your problems. You're right, Mr. Professional. Kira grinned without arguing, discarding his 4 cards to the graveyard and drawing 4 new ones. And among the cards sent to the graveyard by card destruction was Learning Elf. When this card is sent to the graveyard, I can draw another card from my deck. He glanced at his fresh draws, thought for a bit, then picked another card. I set a monster face down in defense position. A set monster appeared on his field. He then played out 3 more cards. Then I set 3 more cards. Turn end. 1 monster set, 4 back row cards. Students familiar with this layout started getting excited. It was here the signature T formation of Kira. Here it comes. Just defense. Maitre D swirled his wine glass again, still calm and elegant. Well, there are duelists like that, I suppose. Focusing on defense over offense, still young, after all. The professional world is harsh. If you can't seize the initiative and attack, the goddess of victory won't favor you. Maitre D put down his wine glass, though it seemed more like a prop than a real drink. Let me show you how a professional does it. My turn, draw. Maitre D declared. At this moment, Bacchus the Dizzy Deity's effect activates. During each of my standby phases, his ATK increases by 300. Bacchus the Dizzy Deity ATK 1600-1900. Next, from my hand, I activate the spell card Graceful Charity. I draw 3 cards, then discard 2. At this moment, I activate a set card. Kira snapped his fingers. Continuous Trap Skull Invitation. A demonic apparition appeared above his field, ghostly and sinister, radiating an ominous aura. Skull Invitation. Whenever a card is sent to the graveyard, each player takes 300 damage for each of their own cards sent. Maitre D frowned. It was a card once used by the legendary duelist Monarch. Monarch, the original king of shady dueling. Many sinister cards and tactics originated with him, later developed and popularized by real-life players into mature decks. When it comes to shady tactics, calling Merrick a grandmaster is no exaggeration. TCH, so if I send cards to the graveyard, I have to take damage? But it's only 300 per card. At this point, Maitre D didn't take it seriously, drawing 3 cards from his deck. By graceful charity, I send 2 cards from my hand to the graveyard. By skull invitation, those 2 plus graceful charity itself 3 cards, for a total of 900 damage. Maitre D, LP 4000 LP 3100. Hat, only 900 damage. Maitre D frowned. Though he said that, he started to feel a bit uneasy. Especially looking at the ghostly demonic projection on Kira's field, the black aura swirling around his set cards. Everything about this setup was starting to make him uncomfortable. Chapter 304, Skull Invitation. From the moment Skull Invitation was activated, Maitre D felt a chill down his spine. But he quickly shook his head, dismissing the bad feeling. What was he thinking? This wasn't a high-level professional match, his opponent was just a student. No need to be nervous. Bacchus the Dizzy Deity, attack the set monster. Maitre D commanded. Bacchus took a step forward, guzzled his golden wine cup, and then blew out a cloud of thick wine vapor. The vapor struck the set monster, flipping it face up, a sinister bug bristling with spikes. The monster you attacked is Needleworm, Kira announced. Its flip effect, send the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Maitre D's eyelid twitched. Send 5 cards to the graveyard. Wait, that means... He stared at his deck, watching the top 5 cards fly out one by one and dump into his graveyard. No, Yamaro. Skull Invitation 5 cards to the graveyard, so that's 1500 damage, Kira smiled. Wah. Maitre D, LP 3100 LP 1600. And since Needleworm was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I also take 300 damage from Skull Invitation. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3700. Maitre D broke out in a cold sweat. What kind of duel was this? He'd barely done anything and already lost more than half his LP. Needleworm's flip effect milled his deck, and that sinister trap burned his life away. That one attack was like stepping on a chain of landmines, blowing him to below half health in an instant. Was this a joke? He looked at the boy before him who stood beside the ominous death god projection, shrouded in evil aura, his polite smile now looking downright creepy. The professional expert Maitre D couldn't help but swallow hard. He was starting to realize today's opponent was trouble. But now your field is empty, Maitre D played another card. Quick play spell Divine Chalice. If you control a water monster, you can special summon a Crimson Token. Crimson Token, ATK 1000. Skull Invitation, Kira said, the spell card going to the graveyard deals another 300 damage. Maitre D, LP 1600 LP 1300. TCH, I'll just beat you before my LP runs out. Maitre D shouted. Crimson Token, direct attack. The token, a mass of wine shaped like a blob, lunged toward Kira. I activate my set card, Kira declared. Counter trap, negate attack. Your monster's attack is negated and the battle phase ends. The Crimson Token slammed into a swirling white vortex and was repelled. Damn it, Maitre D grew frustrated. He couldn't break through on a fence, and every time he used a card, he just lost more LP. Maybe it was his imagination, but that demonic projection seemed to be smirking at him as if sizing up a soul about to be harvested. And of course, negate attack goes to the graveyard, so I take another 300 damage, Kira said. Kira, LP 3700 LP 3400. Battle phase over, Maitre D said solemnly. I tribute Crimson Token and Bacchus the Dizzy Deity. Appear, my ace. Big Vintage Magna Mutton. A massive white ram leaped onto the field in a burst of golden light, giant wine bottles strapped to its back like cannons. Big Vintage Magna Mutton, ATK 2500. Tokens don't go to the graveyard when they leave the field, so only Bacchus was sent, Maitre D said. Kira nodded. So Skull Invitation deals another 300 damage. Maitre D, LP 1300 LP 1000. He'd barely done anything and was down to 1000 LP. Students watching were left speechless. They'd thought the pro might not be a match for the King of Yellow, but this was beyond that. The so-called 8th-ranked pro was being toyed with completely. I set a card and end my turn, Maitre D said. By now, All his previous confidence was gone, and he was on high alert. Was he really about to get crushed by a student, here of all places? If word got out, he might as well retire on the spot. My turn, draw. Kira glanced at his new card, and a card in his graveyard slid out. One of the cards sent to the graveyard last turn by card destruction was the spell Takeover 5. During my standby phase, if it's in the graveyard, I can banish it and another copy from my deck to draw a card. After drawing, he gestured and flipped over a back row card. I activate Continuous Trap Call of the Haunted. I can special summon a monster from my graveyard in attack position. I'm reviving a card that was discarded by card destruction last turn. He took out a card from his graveyard and slapped it on his duel disc. Special summon Warm Worm in attack position. Warm Worm, ATK 600. Only 600 ATK. It looked like a weakling, but considering Kira's unorthodox style, Maitre D was sure it had some trick. Sure enough, Kira flipped another back row card. I activate the trap assault on GHQ. I destroy one of my own monsters and send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Maitre D was stunned. Normally, that would be a pointless card, blowing up your own monster to mill the opponent by 2. What's the point? But in this context, cold sweat broke out on his back. He suddenly guessed could Warm Worm's effect be. Warm Worm's effect, when destroyed, send the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. So, with Assault on GHQ destroying my own Warm Worm, that's 5 cards from the top of your deck. Maitre D. Another 5 cards milled, another 1500 burn from Skull Invitation. Maitre D, LP 1000. He almost wanted to laugh. He finally realized this guy never intended to summon a real monster and fight head-on. Was he really planning to burn him to death with Skull Invitation? Chapter 305, Revenge of the Normals. Assault on GHQ destroys Warm Worm. That's 5 cards to the graveyard, take the burn from Skull Invitation. Kira declared. All the students stared, wide-eyed. They were all wondering. Was Kira really going to burn a pro player to death like this? Nice try, kid. But it's not that easy. Maitre D shouted. I activate the trap destruct potion. Destroy one of my monsters and regain LP equal to its ATK. I destroy Big Vintage Magna Mutton and regain 2500 LP. At the last second, the Big Vintage Magna Mutton exploded, its wine bottles shattering. The splattered wine then turned into energy, surging into Maitre D and restoring a chunk of life. Maitre D, LP 1000 LP 3500. Then your Warm Worm is destroyed by Assault on GHQ. I mill 5 cards from my deck. He discarded 5 cards, grey mist swirling from his graveyard. I take 1500 burn damage. Maitre D, LP 3500 LP 2000. You managed to defend, Kira said. But Big Vintage Magna Mutton also went to the graveyard, so that's 2 more cards, another 600 burn. Maitre D, LP 2000 LP 1400. TCH, but your Warm Worm and Assault on GHQ also go to the graveyard. And Call of the Haunted is destroyed when its monster is. That's 3 cards for you, Maitre D said. You take damage from your own trap, too. Kira, LP 3400 LP 2500. Then I activate Puzzle Reborn. Maitre D stepped forward. When my monster is destroyed by an effect, I can revive it. The graveyard vortex opens, a pillar of red wine erupts, and the Big Vintage Magna Mutton returns. Come back, my ace. Big Vintage Magna Mutton, return. Big Vintage Magna Mutton, ATK 2500. With a new trap sent to the graveyard, that's another 300 burn, Kira said. Maitre D, LP 1400 LP 1100. Maitre D snorted. Fine, mutual destruction. Let's see who burns out first. As expected of a professional, you're not so easy to finish off, Kira smiled. I haven't normal summoned yet this turn. I summon Ojima Yellow in defense position. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. The Ojima Yellow spirit beside Chaz jumped out. Boss, look. It's my kind. It's me. Chaz, shut up. Boss, you're so mean. Kira, I set 2 cards and end my turn. A field of weak monsters and set cards. Maitre D took a deep breath. Sure enough, this kid never intended to fight head-on. Duel Academy has produced a student with such a bizarre style. My turn, draw. Maitre D spoke gravely. Standby phase Big Vintage Magna Mutton gains 1000 ATK. Big Vintage Magna Mutton, ATK 2500 3500. He looked at his draw, eyes narrowing, lips curling upwards. Just the card for this situation. Skull Invitation seems to be your tactics core. But it ends now. I activate Remove Trap, destroy a face-up trap on the field. I destroy Skull Invitation. The trap shattered, and the Grim Reaper projection vanished. The temperature on the field seemed to rise a few degrees. Now that disgusting trap is gone, Maitre D said. I normal summon Foaming Beauty. Foaming Beauty, ATK 1200. Maitre D was a well-known wine lover in the pro scene, his deck was basically a winery, every monster was alcohol-related. Battle. First, Foaming Beauty attacks Ojima Yellow. She raised both hands, firing golden wine at Kira's Ojima Yellow. Ojima Yellow was blasted apart, Kira remained calm amid the explosion. From the graveyard, I activate the trap Ojima marking. From the graveyard. Maitre D frowned. Kira, Ojima marking can be activated when your monster is destroyed by battle. Banish it from the graveyard to special summon one Ojima monster from the graveyard. Return, Ojima Yellow. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. He retrieved Ojima Yellow from the graveyard. TCH, so many tricks for a weakling, Maitre D scoffed. Big Vintage Magna Mutton attacks. Go, wine cannon. Both wine bottle corks fired, wine blasting out like cannons. The just returned Ojima Yellow was washed away again, exploding. Ojima Yellow Spirit, I died twice in one turn, wah, so tragic. Quiet, Chaz said. Kira watched calmly as Ojima Yellow was destroyed a second time, then flipped a back row card. I activate Continuous Trap Human Wave Tactics. At the end phase, if a level 2 or lower normal monster you controlled was destroyed by battle, special summon the same number of level 2 or lower normal monsters from your deck. Maitre D said, you had 2 Ojima Yellow destroyed this turn. That's right. So Human Wave Tactics lets me special summon 2 level 2 or lower normal monsters. He revealed the 2 cards he searched from his deck. Special summon Ojima Black and Ojima Green. Ojima Black, Def 1000. Ojima Green, Def 1000. Then I activate Ojima Delta where Kira activated his last back row card. This turn, for every Ojima Black, Green, or Yellow destroyed by battle, special summon as many as possible. I special summon Ojima Yellow again. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. Ugh, they just keep coming. Maitre D gritted his teeth. He attacked twice and ended up with even more Ojimas on the field like cockroaches. Maitre D, TCH, turn end. Stay calm. Though he hadn't broken through, he'd gotten rid of that key trap and his own ace, Big Vintage Magna Mutton, was at 3500 ATK, going up to 4500 next turn. He was still in control, there was nothing to worry about. Or so he told himself. But facing this student, why did he still feel so uneasy? My turn, draw. Kira smiled, and Maitre D's heart skipped a beat. A sense of doom crept in. No, don't panic. Maitre D shook his head. Even if there are more, Ojimas are still weaklings, he said. Just a bunch of weaklings. That's not very professional, Mr. Professional, Kira smiled. Even the weakest of monsters can have hidden potential. Never overlook a monster's potential because of appearances, that's the mark of a true pro, isn't it? Maitre D. If you dislike the Ojimas so much, let me show you their hidden potential. Maitre D snapped to attention. Ojima potential. Fusion? He knew about the famous, or infamous, Ojima series. Their fusion still left them with 0 ATK, though with powerful effects. But with his ace, Big Vintage Magna Mutton, he could break through anything. But Kira set a monster face down. Maitre D. No fusion? What potential, then? Then I activate A/D changer from the graveyard, Kira said. By banishing it, I can change one monster's battle position. I'll flip my set monster face up in attack position. The set card was flipped, revealing a cute white bunny hugging a carrot, nibbling away. Creepy Coney, ATK 1000. Creepy Coney is a flip monster, and its effect. Kira smiled. Inflict 1000 damage to your opponent for each face-up normal monster you control, except tokens. How much? Maitre D looked at Kira's field. Normal monsters, excluding tokens. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. Ojima Black, Def 1000. Ojima Green, Def 1000. Maitre D wore a mask of pain. Wryyyyyyyy. The elegant pro let out a wail that was hard to tell if it was pain or joy. So this was the hidden power of Ojimas? The revenge of the normals? Even normal monsters have their uses. Look down on weaklings, and you pay the price, Kira declared. With 3 normal monsters, that's 3000 damage. Empowered by Creepy Coney, the 3 Ojimas jumped, lined their butts up, and striking a highly undignified pose rammed Maitre D in the face. Maitre D, LP 1100 LP 0. PS, 2 bonus chapters at 1000 PS. Chapter 306, The Professional World is Just for Fun, bonus. Maitre D took a deep breath. Suddenly, he recalled that when this student got on stage, someone introduced him as a first-year freshman. Actually, even before that, he was wearing a yellow uniform. Maitre D had at least heard about Duel Academy's basic rules. The student dorms are ranked by color, blue, yellow, and red, and there's a strict hierarchy. Blue uniformed students are the elites. In fact, some rookies in the professional dueling world have come straight from the blue dorm. The red dorm, on the other hand, is the bottom of the barrel historically. No red student has ever made it into the pro circuit. The red dorm is filled with rookies barely scraping by. The yellow dorm, while not exactly weak, is only average. Someone in a yellow uniform should logically be at a middling level within the academy. That was Maitre D's naive thought before stepping in. Now, he just wanted to find the chancellor of this academy and have a good, long talk about their management. Especially, he wanted to ask, what were you thinking, putting someone of this caliber in the yellow dorm? As the professional ranked 8th in the world, Maitre D was starting to seriously doubt the teacher's vision and judgment. This guy only made it to yellow in your academy? He suddenly felt the urge to drag the chancellor out, pin his bald head down, and have him duel this yellow dorm student himself. Come on, try it yourself, let's see if you can even win against this. Then, explain to me what you mean by yellow dorm student. That was a pretty good duel, wasn't it, None? Professor Crowlier stepped up with a smile. I believe everyone here got at least a little inspiration from today's duel. Maitre D, Inspiration? What inspiration? Honestly, he was supposed to be the pro, invited here to teach the students. Yet, right now, it felt like he was the one getting schooled. Is this guy really a student? Are you sure you didn't just dig up some hidden boss to come ruin my reputation? Then Professor Crowlier turned to Kira. Kira-kun, although your performance was fantastic, next time I hope to see your real main deck, Non. Everyone's quite interested in your actual deck. I'm sure we could all gain even more insight from that. Of course, Professor. Next time for sure, Kira replied with a smile. Maitre D. He suddenly felt like he didn't understand at all. Wait, what does real main deck mean? So the deck he just used to crush me, was just for fun? Maitre D stared at Kira in shock. Yet the latter simply nodded at him, still polite and smiling. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Professional. Maitre D. He felt like he was being insulted after being called professional. He even started thinking, next time, he should bring more rookie pros to Duel Academy for training. The pro circuit is just for fun. If you really want to prove yourself, you need to come to Duel Academy more often. As for himself? He figured he'd never come back again in his lifetime. Maitre D, ranked 8th among professionals, left howling. Watching the pro's retreating figure, Chaz fell into deep thought. Ojima, always Ojima. But now, Chaz's feelings were different from when he was beaten by Kira in the representative match. Now, he didn't see Ojima as an eyesore anymore. No, watching the trio wipe the floor with a pro in seconds, he felt a strange stir within, as if some forbidden desire was awakened. In fact, he'd felt this before, back when the Paradox brothers first came to Duel Academy, and Kira introduced his Ojima deck, using a joyful cosmic lock to sweep the legendary brothers. But that was a tag duel, with Jaden as his partner, and didn't show much of the deck's true potential. Chaz had gradually forgotten that feeling during later training. Now, as a spectator, he felt the joy of Ojima once again, and his heart started to itch. Could Ojima actually have real potential? Boss, see? We can fight, can't we? The Ojima yellow spirit popped up. Isn't there a saying there are no useless cards, only useless duelists? Boss, with your skill and wisdom, if you used us, you could unleash our true power just like Lord Kira. Shut up, Chaz growled. Forget it, I'd never use your kind of trash deck, it doesn't suit my image at all. Boss, you're so mean, the Ojima yellow whispered, but I saw you yesterday, sneaking to the shop to pick out a few Ojima cards from the pile nobody wanted. You're totally building Ojima deck on the sly, you just won't admit it. Chaz's face flushed red. Nonsense! He yelled. I'm just studying the enemy, know thyself. Who said I was building your garbage deck? Even if my deck was confiscated, even if I was at the bottom of the academy, even if I hit rock bottom, I would absolutely, definitely, never ever use your kind of Ojima deck. Ah, boss, you're too cruel. Leaving the hall, Kira stretched. So satisfying. Dueling really is a light-hearted, fun activity. After that match, he felt much better. There are benefits to dueling pro players. Kira was already considering logging into the link system later. Apparently, there were plenty of pros online, and maybe he'd get some more good matches. On the flip side, it's good training for the pros, too. After all, they don't often get such interesting matches on the professional stage. It's great for broadening their horizons, improving adaptability and mental fortitude. Speaking of tournaments, Kira quickly remembered that Mokuba had reminded him to sign up. He pulled out his terminal, opened the Duel City tournament registration page, and filled out the form. That's when Jaden showed up. Wow, Kira, you're amazing. Jaden suddenly jumped in and patted him on the shoulder. That was a pro. A pro duelist. Even they couldn't do anything against you. You'd be the same, Kira smiled. It was true. He was just a yellow dorm student, and Jaden was a bottom-of-the-barrel red. Letting a pro feel the strength of the academy's bottom-ranked students, pro players would have to question their lives all over again. Damn, I'm so jealous. Kira, you got to duel a pro again, and I missed my chance. Noticing Kira filling out a form, Jaden asked. Hey, Kira, what's that? Registration form for the Duel City GX tournament. It's about to start during winter break. Jaden's eyes lit up. Duel City? The legendary one? So tons of top duelists will be there. Jaden was hyped. What about me? Can I go too? Chapter 307, The Tournament, Bonus. Ah, now that you mention it, I think I heard something about it, Cirrus said, resting his chin on his hand. I saw the ad. They said this year's Duel City tournament will be different from previous years. Different? Chumley peeked over in confusion. Chumley was a bit of a slacker, always on the verge of dropping out of Slifer Red, usually just sleeping in the dorms and cut off from the outside world. Though he'd gotten more lively since Jaden showed up, he was still a shut-in and didn't care much about outside news. You guys seriously didn't know? It's the biggest event Kaiba Corp has been hyping up lately. Cirrus quickly pulled out his device, tapped a few times, and brought up the event poster. Kira leaned in for a look. Yep, no surprises, a big white dragon took center stage. President Kaiba himself was striking his usual over-the-top pose. Though the text said it was an invitation for duelists to join, it looked more like a challenge than an invite. I thought Duel City was held every year. Jaden asked. Yeah, but everyone knows the standard dropped after the first tournament in Domino City, Cirrus explained. But that's only natural. Every year, the Duel City tournament is still a high-level event. Tons of strong duelists enter, including some top pros. Top pros, hey. Kira hadn't thought much about it before, but after dueling the guy who claimed to be ranked 8th, he felt like the pro level wasn't all that intimidating. When people talked about how strong the pros were, it reminded him of how people talk about all the Jonin in Konoha being elites. Not exactly weak, but it felt like all the pro circuit's real strength was concentrated in Aster. Aster Phoenix really might be the only star of the GX Pro circuit. Maybe if you count the later edition of the rookie Zane Truesdale, that'd make 2. Other than that, most of the professional duelists in the anime were just background characters. In the Light of Destruction arc, they couldn't even beat the Academy's elite students. Who knows how strong they really were. Anyway, in previous years, the only requirement for signing up was your duelist rank in the Kaiba Corp system, Cirrus continued. As long as you met the rank, anyone could enter. Of course, High-ranked duelists are usually pretty good, but it wasn't like the first tournament. Jaden nodded, makes sense. The first Duel City tournament's recordings were still priceless collector's items. You couldn't say the new generation was weaker, it's just that the original tournament was a clash of gods. Yugi Muto was recognized as the most valuable champion, and the acknowledged king of games, a title earned during Duel City. Every opponent he defeated in that tournament was a legend. In retrospect, people realized all 4 semi-finalists from the original Duel City plus even the quarter-finalists would be championship level in any later tournament. Truly, the original Duel City was a clash of gods. But, there aren't any duelists now who can compare to all those legends, right? Jaden asked. True, but this time, even Kaiba Sito himself said he'll be participating. Cirrus said, excited. It's the first time in years. Do you know how long it's been since anyone saw Kaiba in a public tournament? Seriously? Jaden's eyes sparkled. So, if I join, I could actually face off against President Kaiba. But there's a catch, this year's entry requirements are tougher than ever, Cirrus said. Besides the usual rank, this year Kaiba himself will lead a team for qualification screening. Rumor is, even some legendary duelists didn't pass. Kira immediately thought of the Paradox brothers. Wonder if those two can pass Kaiba's screening. I think as a Slifer Red student, your file probably wouldn't even make it to the screening team, Cirrus said, embarrassed. Hey! Jaden was disappointed. So why does Kira get to go? Chumley whispered, Kira's different. If someone told me he was on the screening team, I'd believe it. Jaden perked up, really? Kira, can you get me a spot? Don't get your hopes up, I'm not on the screening team, I just got an invitation. Kira paused, then smiled. But, if you just want a spot, maybe I can ask. Jaden let out a whistle, then gave Kira a bear hug. Thanks a million. I'll remember this forever. You're exaggerating. Besides, I only said I'd make a call, I don't know if it'll work. Haha, still, thanks anyway. The group kept chatting as they walked, their shadows stretching long in the sunlight. That same day, in the Duel Academy principal's office. Any plans for the break, Zane? Chancellor Shepard leaned back in his chair, smiling at his star pupil and the rightful heir to his cyber style, Zane Truesdale. Nothing special, Master, Zane replied with a smile. I'll look for chances to duel strong players outside the academy, hone my skills, and seek new breakthroughs. Good. In that case, I happen to have an opportunity for you. Chancellor Shepard smiled, handing him a flyer. Zane took it and raised an eyebrow. Duel City. Chapter 308, Raising the Stakes. Duel City. Zane looked at the flyer with genuine interest. You want me to participate, Master? Yes. This year's event is different. Kaiba Sito himself is rumored to be joining. That Kaiba Sito? Zane was surprised. But I thought he had retired? That's what people said, but it looks like it was just a rumor. Shepard leaned back and smiled. In fact, I've met President Kaiba myself. I can tell, there are very few people in the world as passionate about dueling as he is. Even back then, I doubted he'd ever retire for good. I see. Zane mused. In truth, Kaiba Sito was one of the duelists Zane admired most. Much of his own tactics and style were inspired by Kaiba. After all, both he and Kaiba had full playsets of ace monsters, both ran triple fusions, both favored aggressive, oppressive playstyles. Even their suspiciously consistent opening hands 3 Cyber Dragons plus polymerization seemed cut from the same cloth. If anyone ever accused Zane of stacking his deck, Kaiba would probably be the first to defend him. You just don't have the bond. Why blame us for not shuffling? So, interested, Zane? Same Jimma smiled. This year's entry requirements are higher, but as the Academy's ace, you'd have no problem. Zane nodded. Understood, Master. I'll seize this chance to improve and try to reach new heights over the break. Good, Shepard replied. Oh, by the way, I heard that Fujiki Kira will participate too. The first year in yellow, the champion. Zane caught himself mid-sentence. Someone's infamy at Duel Academy had earned them a nickname so well known, Zane almost slipped up and said it aloud. Haha, yes. That kid seems to know President Kaiba personally, so it's no surprise he'd get an invite. You might even face him at the tournament. Zane pondered. Dueling Kira. As this year's most interesting freshman, Kira had long since caught his attention. Zayn knew they'd clash sooner or later. He just hadn't found the right opportunity during the first semester. But, if it was the world-class stage of Duel City. Zayn's lips curled into a smile. The duel spirit within him was already burning. Very interesting. He was looking forward to that showdown. Maybe, at this Duel City, they'd decide once and for all who was the real king of Duel Academy. The cyber style, Alexis asked, resting her chin on her hand, isn't that Zayn's deck? Yeah, Kira replied. He was sorting through a new batch of cyber style cards sent from Kaiba Corp, a fresh batch for the cyber style project. Alexis recalled that Zayn had told her cyber style wasn't unique to their dojo. What he inherited was mostly cyber and dragon, and from the anime, it's clear Zayn had two copies. Even the cyber dragon, though a rare and powerful card, wasn't as rare as the Blue Eyes White Dragon with only 3 copies in the world. As long as you had the right source, you could get one. Kira had always wanted to build a cyber dragon deck. In fact, cyber dragon was a meta staple for a long time, recognized by all players as a powerful beater. Back then, 1600 ATK was the benchmark for a beater, 1800 to 1900 was already excellent for a level 4. But with the GX anime, Cyber Dragon appeared a level 5 monster you could normal summon with no tribute, and it had 2100 ATK, outclassing every previous beater. It shook up the meta so much that Cyber Dragon, even in non-cyber decks, became standard. For a long time, it was limited to 2, and by 2008, as the meta sped up, it got hit even harder and became limited to 1. For a pure beater, being limited to 1 was the highest honor. Don't underestimate Cyber Dragon, Kira smiled. Its potential isn't even scratched yet. The deck can go far beyond what you or even Zayn himself can imagine. Even beyond Zayn's imagination? Alexis looked conflicted. If anyone else said that, she'd think it was nonsense. In this academy, Zayn was the face of Cyber Dragon, no one knew it better. But Kira was different. After all, Kira had already shown Alexis that she knew nothing about her own cyber angels. She'd realized that any deck Kira picked out always had something special. If Kira said a deck had potential, it was practically a blessing breakthroughs would follow. She suddenly remembered Zayn had said he wanted to join the Duel City tournament this year. Zayn and Alexis' brother, Atticus, had been best friends. That's why Alexis was familiar with Zayn, and also why she knew right away Zayn would be entering the tournament. Suddenly, a crazy thought popped into her head: what if Kira faced Zayn at the tournament, using a Cyber Dragon deck? It sounded silly, but with Kira, it wasn't impossible at all. Alright, I've got a few good ideas. I'll leave them with the Cyber Style project team, Kira said, putting away the cards and standing up. Oh, right, I need to find Professor Lyman before break. Why? Alexis asked. She now sensed that Professor Lyman might not be as useless as he looked, but she still didn't understand what Kira hoped to learn or gain from him. Kira glanced at her, then smiled mysteriously. There'll be some tough battles over winter break. I need to find a way to up my odds. Chapter 309, Asking the Teacher for Guidance. It's almost winter break, and Kira is still in the lab. Professor Lyman squinted his eyes, gently stroking the smooth fur of the pharaoh, the SPHYNX cat in his arms. Having been a cat owner for many years, his technique was quite adept, and the pharaoh let out a satisfied meow. Sometimes, Kira actually suspected that even Lyman's cat, Pharaoh, was no ordinary feline. This cat had noticed oddities in the show more than once, and at times, it seemed able to sniff out the scent of spirits or related objects. Moreover, in the end, after Lyman's soul left his body, it was this very cat that swallowed his spirit whole, and from then on, his soul resided in the cat's body. While this looked rather comical in the anime, if you think about it, for a cheat-level alchemist like Lyman, the final vessel for his soul was likely chosen with great care. So maybe, raising this cat was his backup plan from the start. Yeah, I'm only going home tomorrow. I just want to stay a bit longer while I still have the time. More importantly, Kira sat across from Lyman, looking very serious. Professor, I've had a rather interesting idea lately, but I'm not sure if it will work. I'd like to ask for your guidance. Oh. Lyman squinted his eyes, asking with interest. What's it about? This deck. Kira pulled out a deck from his card box and placed it on the table. Deck building, hey. Lyman smiled while petting the cat. Yeah, even if you ask me. But Kira, you know I'm not actually that good at dueling, Naya. Kira laughed. Still putting on an act. It's fine, Professor. Just take a look, and say whatever comes to mind. Kira insisted, even pulling out a small notebook as if ready to take notes. Well, alright, since you're so persistent. Lyman half-heartedly accepted the deck and began to look through it. Actually, their relationship was in a bit of a strange place now. It was as if there was only a thin sheet of paper between them. Everyone could guess the truth, but no one wanted to poke through it. So, they both continued the act with silent understanding. Lyman had a hunch that Kira probably realized he wasn't the fool he pretended to be. He just couldn't tell how much Kira really knew. Still, he felt he had hidden himself well over the years, so there shouldn't have been any slip ups. So, he figured this student just had sharp instincts and observational skills, realizing he was a hidden master, but probably didn't know his true background or intentions. On the other hand, Lyman found Kira increasingly hard to figure out. At first, he was just surprised by Kira's talent for research and creative deck building, but over time, Lyman began to sense that the boy's background and connections were as mysterious as his own, and the secrets he held might not be any fewer. But he also felt that when Kira asked for his advice, his attitude was genuinely sincere. Whatever secrets he held, at least he was a serious and well-behaved student or, well, most of the time. As someone who was, to some extent, on the verge of death, Lyman knew his body wouldn't last another year. Although he'd set up some fallback plans using alchemy, the idea was so bold that even he couldn't say for sure if it would really let him live on. There wasn't much in the world he cared about anymore. There were only two things he still couldn't let go of. The first was his benefactor who'd provided him with funding and forbidden alchemy knowledge, the former chairman of the Duel Academy, Kagemaru. Chairman Kagemaru was now old and gravely ill, relying on money and advanced technology to stay alive, seeking out all sorts of dark and forbidden powers to survive. Both his body and mind were in danger, a source of Lyman's greatest concern. That's why, in the anime, before he died, Lyman handed the Sabatil, the Philosopher's Stone, to Jaden and asked him to defeat Chairman Kagemaru. The second was to nurture a successor. In the original story, Lyman favored Jaden, saying he was a born alchemist. But now, Lyman saw a new possibility in Kira. He still didn't know much about Kira's background, but as a researcher of forbidden alchemy and a high-level dark duelist, Lyman himself had done plenty of things he couldn't discuss openly. So, if Kira had some secrets, it didn't bother him much. What mattered was his talent and potential. Hey? The monarchs. Lyman flipped through the deck Kira handed over, a bit surprised. This is an impressive series. You've actually managed to collect so many monarchs of different attributes, Kira. Your connections and resources must be something else, haha. As he continued, something caught his eye. Banisher of the Radiance. Level 3, ATK 1600. Effect: as long as this card remains face up on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This instantly made Lyman think of a card he'd developed himself. Indeed, Lyman was one of the few duelists who truly understood the power of banishing effects. His own alchemically printed signature card, Orichalcos, could banish any card sent to the graveyard as long as it was on the field. For decks that relied heavily on the graveyard, this was devastating. He kept flipping. DD. Scout Plane, ATK 800. Effect: during the end phase of the turn this card is banished, special summon it in attack position. DD. Survivor, ATK 1800. Effect: during the end phase of the turn this face-up card you control is banished, special summon it. Giant Rex, ATK 2000. Effect: this card cannot attack directly. Once per turn, if this card is banished, special summon it, and increase its ATK by 200 for each banished dinosaur-type monster you control. To most people, this deck's construction might look strange. But as the creator of Orichalcos and a pioneer of banishing decks, Lyman instantly understood the strategy. Both players' graveyards would be completely banished, cutting off graveyard strategies already a huge annoyance for graveyard-reliant decks. On top of that, Kira's monsters all had effects that allowed them to return from being banished. With this combo, his monsters were practically immortal. And with an endless loop of revivals, he'd never run out of tribute fodder for the monarchs. Each monarch, with its powerful removal effects targeting monsters, back row, even hand resources provided massive control and pressure. This was a dimension-based, banishing beatdown monarch control deck. The moment he realized this, Lyman immediately sensed the deck's strength, almost picturing the opponent's frustration as their graveyard was sealed off and they struggled against Kira's undying monsters and relentless monarchs. And naturally, he thought of one thing. This deck had an incredible synergy with a certain card he'd kept hidden away. Professor, I think the deck's construction is excellent, but I keep feeling it's just one step short, like it's missing a single key card. Kira put on a troubled face. But I just can't figure out which card would be best. Could you give me some advice? Chapter 310, The Tournament Approaches. Lyman quickly finished reviewing the deck, squinted his eyes, thought for a moment, and then smiled with genuine delight. Clearly, he approved of the concept. In fact, this strategy was quite similar to his own, and very much to his liking. Lyman's deck was based on alchemy cards, most of which never became real cards, except for his signature Macrocosmos and a few related cards. But in terms of strategy, his deck was similar to Kira's. Both aimed to disrupt the opponent by banishing cards sent to the graveyard, preventing graveyard resource use, while giving themselves ways to turn banished cards into resources. By sealing off the opponent's options and creating an advantageous offensive environment, they gained overall field control. So from the very first glance, Lyman felt a strong sense of kinship with this deck and couldn't help but nod in approval. Lyman's eyes narrowed, and although he continued to pet his cat with his usual calm smile, there was now a deeper look in his expression. Sometimes I think you're almost scary smart, Kira. He adjusted his glasses, his eyes narrowing even further. But after a moment, he returned to normal. Ahaha. Well, it's actually a coincidence. I happen to have a card that fits your deck perfectly. Lyman stood up, rummaged through a messy, dusty table at the back, and soon returned with a card. Kira reached out and took it. Just as expected. Continuous Trap Macrocosmos. Effect: when this card is activated, special summon one Helios, the primordial sun, from your hand or deck. As long as this card remains in your spell and trap zone, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Kira raised his eyebrow in surprise. Wait, 2 effects? Then he remembered right. This card had always been active in banishing decks for so long that many had forgotten it was originally Lyman's signature card. Helios was Lyman's ace monster, though its competitive ability was so low most people ignored it. As Kira took the card, Lyman didn't immediately let go, holding the other end and smiling. Kira, you're preparing for the Battle City tournament, right? Yet. Kira nodded and shrugged. I want to be in top form. If I don't do well, Kaiba probably won't let me off easy. Ahaha, you sure have it tough. Well, good luck then. Lyman let go, and Kira took the card. Lyman sat back down and resumed petting Pharaoh. I'm really looking forward to seeing how far you can grow, Kira. If you win the championship, you'll be famous. Ahaha. Haha, that's a bit tough. But I'll give it my best. Kira smiled. Go for it, I believe in you. Lyman waved. Okay, then I won't disturb your rest any longer. With the legendary item Macrocosmos in hand, Kira stood up. I won't let you down, Professor. Kira left. Lyman quietly petted his cat for a while longer until he saw Kira's figure disappear out the window, then smiled with interest. What an extraordinary kid. Don't you think so, Pharaoh? Pharaoh, meow. The cat yawned, stretched, and curled up even more comfortably on his lap. I really can't wait to see what happens. The light glinting off Lyman's glasses obscured his gaze. Let's see just how far this child can go. Domino City, the legendary Duel City, was about to host the upcoming Battle City tournament. This was the birthplace of countless legends and had been promoted for years as the city of the original king of games and the origin of the first Duel City tournament. Now, it had become a true haven for duelists, where nearly everyone played cards. If you didn't play or register a deck, you couldn't even become a resident. It was hard to imagine just how much power Seto Kaiba, the world's #1 duelist, had to implement such an insane policy. Somewhere in a forgotten corner of Domino City, a half-closed door with cracked paint revealed the weathered wood beneath. Dim, eerie lights glowed like ghostly eyes in the dark. Several figures stood silently around a round table. Headquarters has sent word. One spoke in a low voice. News from the spirit world. The sealing device has appeared, but it seems, according to information, it's been lost. Another frowned. Those spirits were given so much power, yet in the end, they're useless. What a bunch of losers. But there's word that a duelist from our world is involved. The first man in black said, the organization believes the sealing device has fallen into his hands. Oh? Do we know who? More or less. After investigating, it might be someone named Fujiki Kira. The others exchanged confused looks. Who? A student from Duel Academy, not a pro, not a famous duelist, so it's normal you haven't heard of him, the apparent leader explained. Duel Academy? A student. The others doubted their ears. Yes. But don't underestimate him. I've only heard a little, but he's strong. Even Seto Kaiba seems to pay attention to him. There must be something special. Maybe he's got potential. But he's just a student. The leader nodded slightly. Good. According to reliable info, he'll be at this Battle City tournament here in Domino. So our local branch becomes the front line. The organization's orders are clear, our top priority is to recover the sealing device at any cost. All nodded in agreement. Excellent. The tournament is our best chance. Since Yemo is so confident, how about you take the first shot? The man called Yemo laughed. Sure, why not? He said confidently. I'll go and grab the first prize. Chapter 311, The City Transforms into Duel City. Here. Mokuba handed Kira a briefcase and smiled. This should complete your set of monarchs. Kira opened the case to check, nodded, and quickly closed it again. Thanks, he smiled. Now I think I'm all set. Earth, water, fire, wind, thunder, darkness, light, and evil, the original 8 monarchs. But Kira knew there was much room for the deck to grow. As a real card deck with no anime prototype, it was impressive that it continued to get new support cards after so many years, showing its high popularity. In the future, every monarch would have even more powerful evolved forms, subordinates for support, and even field spells, and traps exclusively for them. At least for now, the deck's development potential was limitless. And as a future deck, even its fully evolved form relied solely on tribute summon, not involving any summoning methods that hadn't been invented yet, a solid choice for research. Kira had already set up a special project team for monarch development, guiding the direction of upgrades and support cards. His lab was now working with the world's top monarch development department. The Dark Advance trap he'd used was their latest result. Although Dark Advance didn't have monarch in its name, its effect clearly stated monsters with ATK 2400 or higher and Def 1000, all but naming every monarch directly. It was practically a half-monarch card. Oh, right, the classmate I mentioned before. Kira remembered something. The one called Jaden Yuki, right? Mokuba nodded. It's fine, I've informed the committee. He'll get a spot. He paused, then asked, but it's rare for you to recommend someone. Are you close friends? Haha, I guess. But I didn't recommend him just for that, he's also a very strong duelist. Kira smiled. Even the president might take notice of him. That's strong. Mokuba blinked. But wasn't he in Slifer Red? Well, he's kind of an oddball. Besides, I'm still in Yellow Dorm, right? That's true. Mokuba nodded and didn't ask further. All right, it's almost time for the opening ceremony. Mokuba stood and smiled. Let's get going. I was just wondering. Kira was puzzled. There's no venue for the opening ceremony? They just said to arrive in Domino, but not where. Ah. Mokuba smiled mysteriously. You'll find out soon enough. Kira was confused at first but quickly understood what Mokuba meant. Because, as the countdown ended, President Kaiba suddenly appeared before him. Even Kira had to admit, he was startled. Since coming to this world where even ghosts had to duel, few things could surprise him. Just like a monster summoning, a swirling vortex and a blaze of golden light appeared. Seto Kaiba rose into the air, his coat-tails fluttering, and landed in a superhero pose. With a flourish, he stood up. Kira was momentarily stunned, then quickly understood. A hologram. He looked at his dual disc. All participants' dual discs were Kaiba Corp products, so it was easy to guess that Kaiba was broadcasting his image through them. Not exactly, Mokuba grinned. It's a virtual image, but not a hologram. It's in your mind. Kira. By now, he had some idea of Kaiba's tech. It was the same memory projection technology used in the movie. By interacting with the duelist's memory centers, it could project the image directly into their minds. So now, President Kaiba was appearing to all contestants in a projection only they could see. To all duelists who have arrived in Duel City, as the organizer, I welcome you. Kaiba crossed his arms and smirked. Each of you is a battle-hardened warrior, having earned your way to this battlefield with your skills and record. But this is only the beginning. Kaiba stepped forward, his voice ringing out. This city will now become the city of duels. The entire city is your battlefield. Your deck will be your only sword. Only those who survive to the end will stand at the top. He raised his duel disc, showing off his deck. Of course, this isn't the first Battle City tournament, so I'm sure you all know the rules. The winner of a duel can take a rare card from the loser, and the winner chooses which card. As expected, the anti-rule. Kira narrowed his eyes. This rule had existed since the original Battle City, established by Kaiba to win the 3 Egyptian god cards, and retained as a tradition afterward. Anyone not confident enough, or unwilling to risk rare cards, would never enter this tournament. Ah, so losing isn't an option, Kira sighed. You're at it again, Mokuba laughed. As if you ever planned to lose. Kaiba continued. Only the 8 fastest duelists to win through the city brawl will qualify for the finals. The finals location is hidden somewhere in the city. Kaiba sneered. And I don't know where it is, either. Don't bother looking for previous venues, because every tournament the location changes. Each contestant has a puzzle piece card. Only those who collect 6 pieces and assemble them will reveal the map to the finals. Kira wasn't surprised. The rules were almost a one-to-one recreation of the first Battle City tournament. Oh, and one more thing. This Battle City also has a special rule. Kaiba Sito said flatly. The tournament champion will earn the long-vacant title of King of Games. P.S. 3 bonus chapters at 2000 PS. Chapter 312, First Battle. The title of King of Games. This genuinely surprised Kira. Ever since Yugi Muto retired, that title had remained vacant. After the first Duel City tournament ended, no other event had used that title as a selling point. In fact, everyone knew that since the Pharaoh was gone and Yugi had retired, if Sito Kaiba wanted the title of King of Games, it would be his for the taking. There was hardly anyone left in the world who could be his match. But all these years, Kaiba never did so. Perhaps he felt that unless he defeated that person, even if he beat every other duelist alive, he would be unworthy of the title. That's why Kira was surprised. Not only had Kaiba decided to return to the tournament this time, but he was also reopening the title of Duel King. What did this mean? Had the president finally accepted that Adam was gone, and decided to step out of the Pharaoh's shadow? The opening speech ended, and Mokuba stretched. Phew, I barely slept last night, working on the tournament. I'm exhausted. Mokuba yawned and turned to Kira. Well, now that the tournament's officially begun, shouldn't you head out too? Your opponents are all the duelists in Domino City, you'd better hurry. Spots are limited. If you don't take one of the 8 slots fast enough, you'll be eliminated. Kira nodded in understanding. Indeed, this was a throwback to the original Duel Monsters tournament rules. So even top-level duelists confident in their skills would feel the pressure if they moved too slowly, someone else could get ahead. But this tournament isn't going to be so simple, Mokuba warned, be careful. Some of our people investigated, there's a chance new Doma agents have already slipped in. I suspect there's something in this tournament they absolutely have to win. Kira understood, the sealing device, right? Yeah. So stay sharp. Its appearance in this world is probably their signal for a decisive battle. Actually, one fox has already shown its tail. Mokuba swiped his hand, and a surveillance feed appeared before them. On the screen was a shifty man in a black cloak, half hidden in the shadows, watching something. This guy's been hanging around for ages just outside this building. We cross-referenced with our intel and confirmed he's a dark duelist under New Doma. I think, he's looking for you. Mokuba snorted. He really underestimates the Kaiba Corporation. Does he really think our surveillance network hasn't noticed him? Kira studied the man in the feed and smiled lightly. Interesting. Thanks, Mokuba. He stood up. Looks like my first prey. No, my first opponent is settled. Yemo lurked in the shadows, staring fixedly at the Kaiba Corp tower. Then he frowned slightly. Strange. Why hadn't his target come out yet? The tournament had already started. Shouldn't everyone be rushing out to compete? Where was he? Could he have slipped out another exit? Thinking this, Yemo considered checking a different location. He turned to leave the alley but froze after taking just a few steps. A dead end. That shouldn't be possible. He was sure he'd been heading toward the exit. A sense of foreboding crept over him. He turned around and felt as if a sinister fog loomed before him. Under the dim yellow light, he pushed through the mist, only to find another dark wall blocking his path. Still a dead end. Being a dark duelist, Yemo quickly realized something was wrong. He frowned, turned again, and stood quietly for a moment. Sure enough, a figure soon stepped through the darkness and mist. "Looks like you are looking for me," Kira said with a light chuckle. "Well, here I am." "How confident, kid?" Yemo narrowed his eyes, scanning the ominous mist around them. "A dark duel barrier," he muttered, "let me guess only one of us leaves here alive." "Ha, no wonder you're a new Doma assassin, you catch on quick," Kira laughed. "That's right, this is a dark duel barrier. Anyway, you were planning to challenge me to one, weren't you? I'm just saving you the trouble." He raised his duel disc. "Shall we?" "Interesting. That was my plan. Since you're so fearless, I'll finish this quickly and report back." Yemo also activated his duel disc. His was a special Doma edition, different from Kira's. Kira smiled without replying. Duel X2. Kira, LP, 4000. Yemo, LP, 4000. "I'll go first." "Draw," Kira declared. "I set a monster face down in defense position, then set 3 cards face down and end my turn." A simple opening, but typical of slower competitive formats. Early on, it was rare to go all in and summon a high-attack boss monster on the first turn. There simply weren't enough sturdy monsters. Spending 3 or 5 cards on one big monster, only to lose it to a single removal card, was usually a disaster. Outside of the anime, few people did that. "My turn." "Draw." Yemo drew and eyed Kira warily. He was no longer as confident as he appeared. He'd thought it was just a Duel Academy student. What could be hard about that? But meeting Kira in person, he began to feel uneasy. He couldn't say why, but it felt wrong. He was supposed to be the hunter and Kira the prey, yet it suddenly felt the opposite. He hadn't expected Kira to initiate a dark duel. And when had he circled behind him and set up this barrier? Yemo realized that since Kira had noticed him, if Kira wanted to slip away unnoticed, he couldn't stop it. But Kira had appeared before him anyway. What did that mean? Was he completely disregarding this Doma elite? Arrogant geniuses always learn the hard way how wide the world really is. A glint flashed in Yemo's eyes. "Let's use this duel to teach you that lesson." Chapter 313, The Dark Scorpion Strikes. Yemo played a card. "I summon Armored B in attack position." Armored B, ATK 1600. Armored B had the effect of having the ATK of an opponent's monster once per turn. With 1600 ATK, it could easily take down any monster with 3200 or less, making it a strong lower-level beater, especially in early formats where it could readily create resource advantage. Armored B attacks the face-down monster. The bee buzzed into the air, trailing gold as it dove at Kira's set monster. The card flipped. It was a striking woman in leather armor, wielding a spiked whip. Dark Scorpion, Meanie the Thorn, Def 1800. Meanie's Def was higher than Armored B's ATK. With a flick of her whip, she battered the bee, forcing it back in a daze. Yemo, LP, 3800. "You attacked Dark Scorpion, Meanie the Thorn," Kira said. "When this card inflicts battle damage to the opponent, I can choose one of 2 effects. Add a Dark Scorpion card from the deck or graveyard to my hand." The Dark Scorpion cards belonged to the same group as Don Zalug, a mainstay in Kira's decks. Anyone who watched the GX anime would remember the Dark Scorpion burglars. They may have been villains, but their antics were legendary. After losing to Chaz, they even became his spirit allies. Though comic relief in the anime, these cards once had a solid reputation in the competitive scene. Many became staples in elaborate combos throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Don Zalug and Meanie were especially notable. Don Zalug was infamous for hand destruction. Students at Duel Academy had learned this firsthand. Meanie, though only 1000 ATK, boasted 1800 def solid in a meta where 1600 was standard and could often surprise attackers and trigger her effect. Her effect provided both searching and graveyard recovery, making her a huge potential card advantage engine. And since she herself counted as a Dark Scorpion monster, her own effect could always be activated, even solo. But what truly unlocked her potential was the strategy Kira now used. Using Mini's effect, I add a second Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn, from my deck to my hand. Kira drew the searched card. Strengthening your defense and gaining resources, hey, Yemo remarked. I set a card and end my turn. My turn, draw. Kira snapped his fingers. Trap card, Crush card, Virus. Anime effect. Crush card, Virus? Yemo was stunned. He recognized it as Seto Kaiba's signature move. But wait, to activate Crush card Virus, you have to tribute a dark monster with 1000 or less ATK destroyed in battle. Yemo protested. Don't try to bluff me, I know the effect. Oh, you may not know. This is our lab's latest prototype. We tweaked the effect a bit, Kira grinned. Now, Crush card Virus can be activated anytime by tributing a dark monster with 1000 or less ATK, not just after battle destruction. Yemo. What the hell, Kaiba Corp just prints whatever cards they want now. Why not just remove the ATK limit while you're at it? I tribute my Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn, with 1000 ATK. For the next 3 turns, all your monsters on the field and in your hand with 1500 or more ATK are destroyed. This early powerhouse deck was called Mini Virus, with Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn as the key card. Crush card Virus immediately caught attention upon release and spent years on the ban list. To use it, people sought out dark monsters with 1000 or less ATK, and Mini stood out for her def and effect. Mini Virus thrived until the ban hammer hit Crush card Virus. Red Virus spread from Yemo's armored bee, corrupting and dissolving the monster until it vanished. Then it infected his hand, targeting a card and blowing it up in a flash. His hand monsters were gone too. And worse, the virus lingered, waiting to devour any 1500 plus ATK monsters he drew for 3 turns. But that was fine. Yemo glanced at his hand, eyes narrowing on a card. Monster Reborn. Sure, Crush card Virus was powerful, his deck relied on high ATK monsters, so his draws would be dead for 3 turns. But as a side effect, Crush card Virus dumped his boss monsters into the graveyard. So next turn, he'd just use Monster Reborn to bring one back and swing the duel. I summon the second Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn I searched earlier, Kira said. Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn, ATK 1000. He paused, then smiled. Next, I activate the Continuous Trap Ultimate offering. By paying 500 LP, I can perform an additional normal summon. I pay 500 LP and summon again. Kira, LP, 3500. This time, I summon Don Zalug. Don Zalug, ATK 1400. Battle. First, Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn attacks directly. Yemo frowned. As long as Mini remains, her effect means the Dark Scorpion gang will keep replenishing their forces, but it's not that easy. Yemo shouted. I activate the powerful Trap Mirror Force. When an opponent's monster attacks, destroy all attack position monsters they control. Kira narrowed his eyes. A powerful trap, for sure. Then I chain trap stun, Kira responded. This turn, all other trap effects on the field are negated. Nanny. What? Yemo's face twitched as his trump card fizzled out and broke. Mini leaped forward, her spiked whip lashing out at Yemo. The pain was real, the dark duel's penalty stung. Oddly, he felt a strange tinge of pleasure. XD. Yemo, LP, 3800 2800. Mini smiled seductively and retreated. Yemo's heart skipped a beat, and he forced himself to focus. No, be serious, this is a duel for my life. Then, Mini's effect: when she inflicts battle damage, I add or recover a Dark Scorpion card from my deck or graveyard. Kira added a card. This time, I add Dark Scorpion, Chick the Yellow, to my hand. After searching, Kira gestured again. Next, Don Zalug attacks directly. Don Zalug, the reliable one-eyed captain, spun his gun like a western cowboy and fired a shot straight at Yemo's heart. Ugh! The pain was searing, like a real bullet. Yemo groaned, half kneeling. Yemo, LP, 2800 1400. Don Zalug's effect: when he inflicts battle damage, I randomly discard a card from your hand, Kira said calmly. Random discard just like when Yugi pinned Kaiba's obelisk with the swords of revealing light, picking the card he held aloft. Yemo's heart skipped. Random discard, oh no. You were giving a weird grin while staring at a card just now, Kira remarked, smiling as he pointed. So, the second card from the right. Don't look, just toss it. Yemo. He looked at his one remaining card, Monster Reborn. He felt like crying. Chapter 314, The Psychology of Dueling. Today, Yemo finally understood, dueling wasn't just about luck or skill, it was about psychology. Seto Kaiba had learned this the hard way. Back then, Kaiba had assembled the 3 sacrifices for his god card first but insisted on showing off before summoning obelisk. Yugi immediately activated Swords of Revealing Light, randomly sealing a card in Kaiba's hand. Yugi pointed at the card Kaiba was holding up, and Kaiba was stunned. Now, Yemo faced a dire situation. 3 turns without monsters in hand, and his game-changer Monster Reborn was gone. Next turn, he'd have no monsters to play. With only 1400 LP left, even if Kira didn't summon new monsters, he'd lose to these 2 comic relief gangs. What a joke! To be toyed with by the Dark Scorpion gang, a bunch of joke-tier goons? My turn, draw! Yemo roared, hoping for a miracle. Spell card, Pot of Greed. I draw 2 cards. He drew 2, and then his eyes widened. Field spell. He almost shouted. Seal of Orichalcos, activate. A 6-pointed star glowed on the ground, green light shooting skyward and swirling around the field. Oh? You're activating the barrier even now. Kira smiled. The field was against Yemo, and activating the barrier meant risking becoming a sacrifice to the evil god. But with a dark duel already started, it was a duel for life anyway, so maybe this wasn't the wrong move. More importantly, the Seal of Orichalcos granted a boost of fate power even ordinary duelists could borrow the serpent god's might. This unwritten bonus was the field's greatest strength. Ha ha ha. I can feel it, the god's power surging through my veins. A 6-pointed star glowed on Yemo's forehead as he cackled madly. I activate the spell card Fiend's Sanctuary to special summon a Metal Fiend token. Metal Fiend token, ATK 0. Then I tribute the Metal Field token to activate this card. Spell card Monster Gate. The token turned to golden light and vanished as a dimensional vortex swirled above. Tribute 1 monster on my field, then reveal cards from my deck until I reveal a monster that can be summoned. That monster is special summoned, the rest go to the graveyard. Yemo's right hand blazed with green flame as he invoked the barrier's power. With the god's power, I am now unstoppable. Now, Monster Gate's effect reveal from the top of my deck. He revealed 6 cards in a row, all spells dumped into the graveyard. The 7th was a monster. Chaos Rider Gustav. Yemo declared. Special summon via Monster Gate. An engine roared as the Chaos Rider burst out atop a blood-red motorcycle. Chaos Rider Gustav, ATK 1400. At this moment, I activate the quick play spell Inferno Reckless Summon. Yemo said. When I special summon a monster with 1500 or less ATK, I can special summon all cards with the same name from my hand, deck, or graveyard in attack position. But as a trade-off, my opponent can also special summon as many monsters with the same name as possible from their field. 2 beams of gold shot from Yemo's deck. Special summon 2 more Chaos Rider Gustav. Chaos Rider Gustav, ATK 1400x2. Kira also pulled cards from his graveyard and deck. I special summon 2 more Dark Scorpion, Meanie the Thorn in defense position. Dark Scorpion, Meanie the Thorn, def 1800. Yemo continued, Chaos Rider Gustav's effect, once per turn, I can banish up to 2 spell cards from my graveyard, gaining 300 ATK for each. I banish the 6 spells just sent by Monster Gate. 6 cards turn to golden light, powering up all 3 Chaos Rider Gustav. Each Chaos Rider Gustav gains 600 ATK. Chaos Rider Gustav, ATK 1400 2000x3. And Seal of Orichalcos gives all my monsters another 500 ATK. Chaos Rider Gustav, ATK 2000 2500x3. Yemo roared, battle. The first Chaos Rider Gustav attacks Don Zalug. The blood-red bike barreled over Don Zalug, sending him flying and shattering him. Kira, LP, 3500 2400. The second Chaos Rider Gustav attacks Dark Scorpion, Meanie the Thorn. The second rode forward, targeting the only attack position Mini. Then I activate the Trap Destruct Potion. Destroy one of my own monsters and recover LP equal to its ATK. Kira pointed to his set card. I destroy the attacked Dark Scorpion, Mini the Thorn and recover 1000 LP. Kira, LP, 2400 3400. Destroying your weak monster to avoid damage, hey. Yemo sneered. Clever. Now, the remaining 2 Chaos Rider Gustaf attack the 2 defense position Mini. With no mercy, Yemo struck down both Mini, reversing the field. Unfortunately, at the end of the turn, Chaos Rider Gustaf loses the ATK boost and reverts to base stats. But before that, Yemo raised his hand. Quick play spell Mystic Walk. Before the ATK drops, I tribute one of my monsters and recover LP equal to its ATK or def. So I gain LP equal to Chaos Rider Gustaf's current ATK. Yemo, LP, 1400 3900. My turn end. Chaos Rider Gustaf, ATK 2500 1900 x2. Chapter 315, The Power of Dark Scorpion. Hat, Crush card virus is certainly strong, but if you think this alone can defeat me, you're far too naive. Yemo snorted. Do you see? This is the power granted to me by the gods. Even in desperate situations, I can create a chance to turn the tables. No matter how dirty or sinister your tactics, they're useless against me. Kira tilted his head slightly. Dirty and sinister? Is he referring to deck destruction and hand destruction? But both card destruction and virus of Mini are top-tier builds crafted by players, and the Dark Scorpion deck is recognized as the proper way to play it. Isn't this how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is supposed to be played? He didn't get it. My turn. Draw. Kira drew a card and calmly revealed what he'd drawn. Pot of Greed. Draw 2 more cards from my deck. He drew 2 more. Normal summon Witch of the Black Forest. Witch of the Black Forest, ATK 1100. Equip Witch of the Black Forest with Wonder Wand. This card can only be equipped to spellcasters and increases ATK by 500, said Kira. Witch of the Black Forest, ATK 1100 1600. Hat, but even with that boost, it's still no match for the Chaos Rider Gustaf under the seal of Orichalcos amplification. Hold on, Kira replied. I'll use Wonder Wand's second effect. Send both the equipped monster and this card to the graveyard to draw 2 cards from my deck. He drew 2 more cards and smiled faintly. Then, when Witch of the Black Forest is sent to the graveyard, I can add a monster with 1500 or less def from my deck to my hand. I'll add this one. Makira the Destructor, def 1200. Next, I activate the spell card Hand Destruction. Kira said. Both players discard all cards in their hands, then draw the same number. Yemo frowned. Makira the Destructor's effect is. Exactly. During the turn Makira the Destructor is sent to the graveyard, I can activate trap cards from my hand this turn. Old effect. Kira quickly played another card from his hand. Next, I activate the quick play spell Flute of Kuruba Summoning. Kira declared, special summon Kuruba from my deck to the field. Kuri. Kuruba leaped out, hopping to the front of the field. Kuruba, ATK 300. Yemo was surprised. Another small fry. He thought for a moment, frowning even more. Your deck, is it all just small fry like this? So far, it was nothing but low-level monsters. He hadn't seen a single high-level one, or even anything above 1500 ATK. Was Kira really planning to win with this bunch of small fry? Equip spell Rainbow Blessing, equipping it to Kuruba. Anime card. The magic card materialized, and Kuruba was instantly bathed in rainbow colors, radiating with a 7-colored glow. Then I tribute Kuruba. After a Kuruba equipped with Rainbow Blessing is tribute, all my monsters can attack directly this turn. Yemo frowned. So your plan is to bypass the front line with your weak monsters and attack directly, hey? But he just sneered. Too bad. If I hadn't recovered LP last turn, maybe you could have finished me off. But my life points are still at 3900. With your small fry. Kira chuckled. Some people are already dead, they just haven't realized it yet. Makira the Destructor's effect lets me activate trap cards from my hand this turn. So. Kira smiled and revealed a card in his hand. Continuous trap call of the haunted. Revive a monster from my graveyard in attack position. I'll revive the card that was searched by Mini's effect last turn, and discarded just now. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow, ATK 1000. And thanks to Rainbow Blessings effect, this turn, it can attack directly. Kira waved his hand. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow, cross the Rainbow Bridge. Kuraba left behind and attack directly. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow leaped forward, sliding across the Rainbow Bridge. With a massive slap, Yemo's vision went black, and he staggered back half a step. Yemo, LP 3900 LP 2900. TCH, that's barely any damage. Yemo brushed the dust off his clothes with a flourish. I could barely feel that. Are you even trying? Haha, sorry for not entertaining you more. But don't worry, it's not over yet. Kira smiled. Next, Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow's effect activates. When it inflicts battle damage, I can return a card on the field to its owner's hand. Which one? Chaos Rider Gustav? Or the barrier? Yemo sneered. If that's your plan, forget it. The seal of Orichalcos is invincible once activated, it can't be removed by any means. Kira smiled. Actually, I'm returning this card. He pointed to his own back row. Continuous trap call of the haunted. Yemo. What's the meaning of this? Is he giving me a card as a gesture of goodwill? But, Call of the Haunted has a restriction. When this card leaves the field, the monster special summoned by its effect is destroyed. Kira shrugged. So, Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow is destroyed. Boom. With a bang, Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow vanished in a cloud of black smoke. So you're trying to recover your trap for repeated use. Yemo seemed to catch on a little. But so what? Your graveyard's full of small fry. Even if you get your trap back, resurrecting anything won't. He stopped, his eyes widening in shock as if he'd just realized something terrifying. That's right. For the entire turn that Makira the Destructor was sent to the graveyard, the opponent can activate traps from their hand. Doesn't that mean? Once again, I activate the continuous trap call of the haunted from my hand. Kira smiled, revealing the trap. A second special summon Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow, ATK 1000. Because the trap was used during the battle phase to revive the monster, of course it can attack again. Kira waved, Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow, cross the rainbow path again and attack directly. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow darted across the rainbow bridge, landing another slap on Yemo's face. Yemo, ugh. Yemo, LP 2900 LP 1900. Then, Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow's effect activates again. After dealing battle damage, return a card on the field to the owner's hand. I'll return Call of the Haunted to my hand. Kira took the trap back. And since the trap left the field, the revived monster is destroyed. Then, once again, I activate the continuous trap Call of the Haunted from my hand to revive Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow dot. Yemo's expression twisted as he desperately shook his head and staggered backward. No, 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 this can't be happening. Every time the trap is activated, Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow is revived, its state reset, and it can attack directly again. Each direct attack triggers Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow's effect, returning the trap to hand, destroying Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow, and the cycle repeats as long as the trap is revived. An infinite loop. Even if Yemo had 10,000 or a million or infinite life points, he'd be smacked to death by this endless cycle of slaps. The third slap landed. Yemo's face was swollen, his eyes dazed as he fell to his knees. Yemo, LP 900. The black mist of the shadow game mingled with the green glow of the seal of Orichalcos, highlighting Kira's chilling smile like a demon admiring a prey already trapped in its cage. Yemo recoiled in terror, trying to run, only to find his sweat-soaked back pressed up against a solid wall. It was the edge of the seal of Orichalcos, the very cage he'd set, now trapping himself with a demon. He'd locked himself in with the devil, and now he had nowhere left to run. The final blow. Fourth consecutive attack, Kira announced. Dark Scorpion, chick the yellow, direct attack. The last slap landed. Yemo saw stars and, unable to bear it any longer, collapsed heavily to the ground. Yemo, LP0. PS, that's so nasty. Chapter 316, anyone else want to try? Bonus. Kira. I'll never get used to him, no matter how long it's been, muttered Mokuba as he watched Kira's first duel on the monitor. Even as a member of the opposing team, he suddenly felt a bit sorry for the other side. In just a few turns, that poor guy endured both deck and hand destruction, and then got hit with an infinite slap loop. But it looked like the guy ended up falling victim to his own seal of Orichalcos in the end. When the LP hit 0, the seal of Orichalcos spun tightly, its green light converging on Yemo. Yemo's eyes went blank. He staggered back 2 steps, about to collapse, but before he could hit the ground, Kira stepped forward and caught him. Yemo was stunned. He looked up in surprise at Kira, not expecting the person who had ruthlessly demolished him to step forward and support him after the duel. What did it mean? Was it comfort? But in a duel for life, victory meant survival and defeat meant death. What was the value of the victor's pity? Within a second, he realized he was overthinking it. Kira, after catching him, immediately yanked the duel disc and deck from Yemo's hand, and then let go. Without support, Yemo collapsed to the ground like a used rag. Yemo, you at %% and. Not only did this jerk rub salt in his wounds, he even took his cards. He had 1,000 things he wanted to curse about, even wanted to lunge at Kira for a brawl, but there was no chance. The seal's power converged, forcibly pulling his soul from his body, rising upward along the green light, watching helplessly as his body slumped to the ground, and Kira walked away with his cards. His soul vanished into the vortex of the seal. In his last moment of consciousness, he felt a heavy blow to his chest, as if he were about to cough up blood. Tisk, new Doma's members are disappointing. Can't they at least drop some rare cards? Kira flipped through the confiscated deck while walking, shaking his head. This one might be useful. Actually, maybe not. Might as well sell it. Mokuba, watching at the monitor, was speechless. He suddenly thought it might actually be lucky for Yemo to have passed out so quickly. If he'd seen Kira picking through his deck and dismissing it, he might have revived out of sheer rage. He'd known Kira's duels were the most interesting, good thing he didn't switch the feed. Mokuba, satisfied, switched the monitor to search for his brother, Seto Kaiba. Now, Kira's puzzle card count was up to 2/6. He wondered if his brother had gotten his first card yet. Kira was starting to realize this tournament wouldn't be so simple. He'd originally thought the real challenge would be after qualifying. Kaiba Seto was undoubtedly the biggest threat, but Kira had never been fixated on winning the championship. To him, dueling Kaiba was just another step in his personal challenge. He'd overcome every trial so far, with no major setbacks. A duel with Kaiba might bring a breakthrough. But now, it looked like there were other issues to deal with before the finals. His acquisition of the sealing device had clearly drawn new Doma's attention. Their members had infiltrated this Duelist Kingdom tournament. What had happened just now was only the beginning. That Yemo was clearly just a scout. There were surely others watching, analyzing Kira's tactics, and planning their next assault. Of course, this wasn't too concerning for Kira. He never used the same deck or strategy twice. If they tried to study him, he'd simply change decks for the next duel. But the real issue was being marked as a target. It was clear that the enemy would keep attacking throughout the tournament, trying every trick and dirty tactic. Sitting back and waiting to counter was not wise. He needed to take the initiative. Kira walked out of the alley, black mist dissipating behind him. He smiled, lips curling upward. Hunting time had begun. Yemo has failed. In a shadowy room, green light flickered like ghostly flames, as the hooded leader spoke quietly. His gaze swept over the 4 remaining people in the room. Anyone have something to say? No one spoke. They'd all observed the duel through the power of Orichalcos. After watching, the room had fallen into an awkward silence. What was there to say? The Dark Scorpion Bandit deck was known to them, a commoner's deck available in any store. Unlike in the anime, where these small fry sometimes had moments of brilliance, in reality, they'd been benched ever since their first appearance, never to return. Even Chaz, who later appreciated the value of small fry, didn't seem to care for them. And yet, using such a deck, Kira crushed Yemo with deck destruction, then finished him with an infinite loop. Infinite loops were rare in this world, but not unheard of. In the original Duelist Kingdom, Yugi used an infinite loop to defeat the Egyptian god, Slifer the Sky Dragon. Though the rules were different back then, that legendary duel was still talked about today. Every infinite loop ever recorded in an official tournament was the result of a duelist racking their brains and pulling off a desperate comeback, legendary moments in dueling history. But when Kira did it, it looked as easy as a basic attack. It felt effortless, as if he hadn't even tried. So, is there anyone else who wants to try next? The leader looked around. No one spoke. Chapter 317, A Plan, Bonus. With the question put aside, the room fell into a longer silence than before. No one volunteered to go for the glory. The last person who did that was Yemo, who went straight to their serpent god. The rest, if given a choice, would rather keep their lives. At first, hearing their target was just a Duel Academy student, they'd underestimated him. Now, that was completely gone. He'd beaten Yemo in just a few turns, using nothing but Commandeer Leaf Dark Scorpions. Clearly, he hadn't even tried his hardest. The duel recording was hardly useful. Kira's true strength remained unknown. Who knew if they'd be the next Yemo? No takers? Well, it can't be helped. The hooded leader slowly stood up. Everyone looked over in surprise. Was the leader going to act personally? They'd heard stories about this branch's leader. Before joining New Doma, he'd been a rising star in the pro circuit, winning streak after streak, highly regarded by all. But praise and expectation had made him arrogant, convinced he was unbeatable, thinking that even legends like Yugi or Kaiba were nothing special. If only he'd been born earlier, he'd have been king of games, with the 3 Egyptian gods as his own. This lasted until he got a chance to privately challenge Seto Kaiba. Ace against ace, legend versus new star, an epic showdown. Or so he thought. Once they started, he quickly realized how naive he was. There was no such thing as ace versus ace. If anything, it was like an egg against a rock. He never even got to see the Blue Eyes White Dragon. He was crushed by XYZ Dragon Cannon. After that, his career plummeted, and he eventually quit the pro circuit in despair. Until he joined New Doma, regaining and even surpassing his former strength. Now, in the underworld, he was revered as Necromancer, his real name forgotten. Each of his duels claimed a powerful soul. Everyone held their breath. Was the Necromancer really going to take action himself? I have a plan, someone suddenly spoke up. Everyone turned to look. It was the member codenamed Black Flame. You've all heard of the legend, the dark duelist Merrick, Black Flame said gravely. He once sent Joey Wheeler to fight Yugi, nearly taking down the king of games. You know about that, right? Everyone nodded. Of course. But what about it? Since this Kira is so tricky, why not copy that method? The hooded man sneered smugly. Oh. The Necromancer frowned. You mean? I've already investigated. Kira didn't come to the tournament alone. The man said confidently. He brought a classmate from Duel Academy, someone he's very close to. My informant says Kira specifically requested a spot for this student from Kaiba Corp's committee. So they must be close friends, Necromancer nodded. If we control this person, maybe we can repeat Merrick's tactic. Merrick used the Millennium Rod to brainwash Joey and forced him to duel Yugi for his life. Joey could never beat Yugi, but Yugi also couldn't bear to hurt his friend. If you can't beat someone, make them give up victory themselves. Not a bad idea. As for whether this was dishonorable, well, all their work was in the shadows anyway. Serving the cult's goals justified any means. But will Kira's friend be easier to deal with? Necromancer asked. Relax, I checked. His name is Jaden Yuki, and he's in Slifer Red at Duel Academy. Slifer Red, hey. Necromancer nodded. He'd heard that was the Academy's infamous loser dorm. That's right. I even checked his grades, he's at the bottom of even Red. No threat at all. Black Flame was full of confidence, patting his chest to assure success. Capturing him will be a breeze. We'll take him, brainwash him, grant him the Orichalcos power, and make him duel Kira. Good idea. Several others applauded. If he's brainwashed, he'll attack without mercy, and Kira, unwilling to harm a friend, will be easy prey. Exactly. Black Flame sneered, and even if the plan fails, if Kira is forced to defeat his own friend, he'll be left with deep darkness in his heart. And then? Our cult specializes in exploiting that darkness and breaking down opponents. Necromancer nodded. Even if he survives, his mental state will be shattered, he'll be a fraction of his former self. At that point, taking him down will be easy. Not a bad plan. But I'd like to make a small change. Necromancer spoke. You all know that Merrick's plan with Joey failed, right? Black Flame thought. Not sure of the details. I heard maybe the Millennium Puzzle broke the mind control. Not clear. But in any case, I think brainwashing isn't the safest method. There's always a risk the duelist regains control, as Joey reportedly did. So. Simple. We'll use a duel to steal his soul, then control his body for the duel. Necromancer sneered. That way, there's absolutely no risk of mishap. Brilliant, sir. And, just to be safe. Necromancer paused, his eyes flashing green. I'll handle it myself. Elemental Hero Avian, direct attack. Jaden shouted. Aic. Pro Duelist NPC, LP0. Some random pro duelist dropped to his knees, looking utterly defeated. He lost. Even as a lower tier pro, he never expected to lose to a Duel Academy student, especially a Slifer Red. He looked up at Jaden in confusion. Was pro-level play not even enough to graduate from Duel Academy now? But even after defeating him, Jaden kept going. Victory! That was an awesome duel. Jaden struck his classic pose. The pro clutched his chest, feeling his heart twist in pain. Ha, dueling is the best. Tournaments are the best. Jane stretched happily and walked out. I wonder how Kira and Zane are doing. He shook his head, and slapped his cheeks. All right, can't let myself fall behind. Gotta find my next opponent. Where are you, duelists? At that moment, a cold voice came from behind. So, you're Jaden Yuki, aren't you? Chapter 318, From Hell. Jaden Yuki, is it? The necromancer raised his dual disc, a strange smile curling on his face. You are. Jaden hesitated for a moment. It looked like he wanted to ask about the other's origins, but when he saw the dual disc raised by the necromancer, that little bit of curiosity vanished in an instant. Did it matter who the opponent was? Not at all. What mattered was there was a duel to be had. I get it, you're a duelist in the tournament, right? Jaden rubbed his nose, grinning. Well, come on then. I always give it my all, from start to finish. The necromancer narrowed his eyes, his smile growing even eerier. Duel. Duel. Both sides activated their dual discs, drawing 5 cards each. Jaden, LP 4000. Necromancer, LP 4000. I'll take the first move. Draw. The necromancer drew his card, his laughter growing more chilling and bizarre. Heh. I drew this card right away. Looks like the gods themselves want me to finish you off quickly. Fine, then I'll make this swift. He selected a card from his hand, a green light flashing in his eyes. Field Spell Seal of Orichalcos. Jaden's pupil shrank, his smile vanishing in an instant. That card. He'd faced the swordsman of Doma alongside Kira before, so Jaden knew exactly what this card meant. This wasn't just about winning or losing a match, it was a battle of life and death. Whoever lost this duel would lose their soul. Jaden, you're. The barrier unfolded, emerald light shooting skyward. The necromancer squinted, a hexagram mark reflected on his forehead, his robe seemingly billowing with vibrant green energy. Oh, so you recognize the seal of Orichalcos. Then I guess there's no need to explain. But it's too late now. Even if you realize it, you can't escape. The necromancer let out a bone-chilling cackle. Soon, in this duel, you'll come to know the power of the hellish deck I've developed, fusing together the tactics of legendary duelists. Jaden, why does that sound so familiar? I'll set a monster in face-down defense position, then set 2 more cards face-down. The necromancer sneered. Turn end. Jaden took a deep breath. All right, my turn. Draw. This wasn't just any duel. He glanced warily at the green light rippling inside the sealed barrier. Whoever lost in here, would die. Jaden's expression grew serious. He had to give it everything he had. I summon Elemental Hero Sparkman. Elemental Hero Sparkman, ATK 1600. Sparkman, attack the face-down monster. The blue-clad hero leaped forward amid crackling lightning, energy swirling in his palm before launching forth as a blue electric javelin. Activate set card Continuous Trap, Gravity Bind. The necromancer's back row flipped up. Invisible gravitational waves surged out from the trap card, enveloping the field. Gravity Bind's effect, all level 4 or higher monsters cannot attack. Jaden frowned slightly. So it's an attack lockdown, just like Kira's traps. In that case, I activate the quick play spell Quick Summon, letting me normal summon a monster from my hand. Jaden revealed another hero in his hand. Normal Summon, Elemental Hero Wildheart. Elemental Hero Wildheart, ATK 1500. Wildheart, attack the face-down monster. The wild-looking hero brandished his sword, dashing forward through the gravitational field and unleashing a ferocious slash at the set monster. So that's it, Wildheart is immune to trap effects. That's right. Elemental Hero Wildheart is unaffected by traps, so even under Gravity Bind he can attack, Jaden called out. Ha, you brought out a counter to Gravity Bind right away. But... The necromancer narrowed his eyes, letting out a strange chuckle. Do you really think it'll be that easy? The set monster flipped up. A tiny, white, plush creature appeared on the field. Wildheart's blade sunk deep, but was instantly bounced back, striking his own forehead and sending him staggering. The monster you attacked is Marshmallow, the necromancer said. Marshmallow can't be destroyed by battle. And when attacked while face down, the opponent takes 1000 damage. Jaden, LP 4000 LP 3000. Ugh. Jaden winced as the shockwave hit him, stumbling back. Ah, got tricked. He glanced at his hand, thought for a moment, and picked out another card. I'll set a card. Turn end. Heh, end of your turn, is it? The necromancer's laughter grew even more sinister. What's wrong? Jaden froze, beginning to sense something was off. Within the green barrier, an eerie atmosphere had started to rise. At first it was like the sound of wind, but it slowly transformed into whispers of the dead. The chilling air seemed to carry countless spirits, swirling around him murmurs, wails, and piercing laughter. Jaden's eyes widened. He could almost see them. Translucent, white apparitions, their faces twisted with the world's deepest sorrow and resentment, hollow eye sockets like wells of hatred. A letter appeared between his palms. A strange, flickering D. Jaden recognized it instantly. He might be a slacker in class, but he was obsessed with legendary duelists. He owned the original Duelist Kingdom DVD set and had watched every top 8 match. So of course he recognized this tactic right away. Destiny Board. Back in the Duelist Kingdom, the legendary duelist Bakura had used this tactic against Yugi Mewtwo, nearly winning if Yugi hadn't drawn the God card on his final turn. Of course, Jaden didn't know that the Bakura who dueled Yugi was actually Yami Bakura, the ultimate boss of DM and Zork Necrophats himself, who went on to defeat the 3 Egyptian gods, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Dragon Master Knight, and even Exodia Necros before finally falling to the Creator of Light. But all that was never public knowledge. Only the main characters of the Egypt arc knew those secrets. Most outsiders didn't even know the world had ever been threatened by a world-ending demon lord. That's right, this is the tactic once used by a legendary duelist. The necromancer let out a grating laugh. With Neodoma's technology, even rare, out-of-print decks like this can be fully replicated. Now, the countdown to your death has begun. Destiny Board activates. At the end of your opponent's turn, place a spirit message card from hand or deck onto your spell and trap zone in the correct order. The next message for your death is this card. A new ghostly spirit floated onto his field, holding a new letter. Spirit Message E. Chapter 319, Spirit Messages. Continuous spell, Spirit Message E, activated from my deck. A second translucent ghost appeared on the necromancer's field. Now there were 2, each holding the letters D and E. Destiny Board's effect, at each of your opponent's end phases, place a spirit message card from hand or deck. The necromancer grinned coldly. Once D, E, A, T, and H are all on my field including Destiny Board itself, it's over for you. He didn't need to finish, Jaden was already frowning, understanding. I'll lose. Destiny Board's effect was like Exodia, a victory by card combination. If the 5-letter card spelling death appeared on the field, the duelist won instantly. Haha, that's right. 2 letters down. You'd better struggle with everything you have in the turns you have left. My turn. Draw. The necromancer drew a card, eyes flicking to Jaden's back row. Just to be safe, let's get rid of that set card. Quick play spell, Mystical Space Typhoon, destroy any spell or trap on the field. A black cyclone swept up Jaden's set card. The trap card was caught in the wind, spinning and then smashed to pieces by a bolt of lightning. You destroyed the trap card dummy marker, Jaden grinned. When fake marker is destroyed, I draw a card. If it was destroyed by an opponent's spell card, I draw 2 cards. Anime card. The necromancer frowned. What? Since your mystical space typhoon destroyed it, I draw 2 cards. Jaden drew. TCH, pointless tricks, the necromancer muttered. But it won't change the fact that you're getting closer to death. He played 2 more cards from his hand. I set 2 cards face down. Turn end. Jaden knew he was right. Destiny board was a sentence of death. With each passing turn, he drew closer to defeat, and in this duel, defeat meant death. But Gravity Bind still locked down level 4 and higher monsters, and Marshmallow was an annoyingly tough defender that couldn't be destroyed by battle. He had to break through somehow. My turn. Draw. Jaden played a spell card from his hand. Spell card, Shield Crush. Destroy 1 defense position monster on the field. Found a way to break through Marshmallow's defense already. The necromancer grunted. That's right, Marshmallow can't be destroyed by battle, but card effects are fair game, Jaden answered. So Marshmallow is destroyed. But it won't be so easy. Activate trap, guard mines. The necromancer called out, and numerous explosive spheres appeared on his field, forming a shield in front of Marshmallow. Guard mines, when you activate a card that destroys one of my monsters, this negates and destroys it, and you take 500 damage. The magical beam from Shield Crush blasted the bomb wall, triggering a chain reaction of explosions. The shockwave sent Jaden stumbling back. Jaden, LP 3000 LP 2500. Ugh, even Shield Crush couldn't break through. The necromancer cackled. Struggle all you like, it's all futile. No matter what you do, you can't change your fate. Don't be so sure. In a duel, you never know the outcome until the very end. Jaden didn't seem fazed. I normal summon Elemental Hero Clayman. Elemental Hero Clayman, ATK 800. He played another card into his duel disc. Equip spell, Spark Blaster equipped to Elemental Hero Sparkman. A surge of electricity became a black, high-tech weapon in Sparkman's hands. Power flowed through his arm into the Spark Blaster. Spark Blaster's effect, I can change the battle position of any face-up monster on the field, up to 3 times. Jaden pointed at Marshmallow. I switch Marshmallow to attack position. Sparkman fired, and Marshmallow trembled as its card changed from defense to attack, standing upright on tiny legs. Marshmallow, Def 500 ATK 300. The necromancer raised an eyebrow. Interesting. That's right. Marshmallow can't be destroyed by battle, but as long as it's in attack position, I can deal damage. Jaden declared. But even Marshmallow gets the seal of Orichalcos effect, its ATK increases by 500. Marshmallow, ATK 300 ATK 800. Even so, 800 isn't much. Jaden swept his arm forward. Wildheart is immune to traps, so Gravity Bind doesn't stop him. Wildheart, attack Marshmallow. The necromancer responded, trap, Desert Sunlight, all my monsters switch to face-up defense position. The trap activated, and Marshmallow immediately returned to defense position. Marshmallow, ATK 800 Def 500. Too bad your effort was pointless, the necromancer sneered. Not necessarily. Jaden revealed another spell card. Quick play spell, Flash Fusion summon using monsters from my field. Oh. The necromancer smirked. A quick fusion. I fuse Elemental Hero Sparkman and Elemental Hero Clayman. Jaden raised his arm high. On the field, one hero turned to golden lightning, the other to a swirl of earth, both sucked into a fusion vortex, erupting in a brilliant golden light. The hero who commands electricity, and the stalwart defender they combined to summon a hero of thunder. Fusion summon. Jaden clenched his fist. Elemental Hero Thunder Giant. Chapter 320, Approaching Death, Bonus. Golden lightning split the dark clouds as a hero in golden armor descended, electricity surging in his core. Elemental Hero Thunder Giant, ATK 2400. Oh. The necromancer grunted. A quick fusion during the battle phase? But even a powerful fusion hero. Thunder Giant's effect activates. Jaden shouted. When Thunder Giant is fusion summoned, he can destroy a monster on the field with lower original ATK. In the actual cards, Thunder Giant's effect can be used once per turn by discarding a card as cost. In the anime, it only activates when summoned and doesn't require a discard. Thunder Giant's effect destroy Marshmallow. Thunder Giant raised his hands, energy whirling in his chest before unleashing a spinning lightning sphere. Marshmallow was struck, its fluffy body vaporized by the thunderbolt. Yes. Marshmallow is defeated. Jaden pumped his fist. Since it's still the battle phase and the number of monsters on the field changed, the battle is rewound. Wildheart attacks directly. Wildheart leaped forward, slashing down with his blade, breaking through the Necromancer's defenses. Necromancer, LP 4000 LP 2500. The Necromancer grunted, clutching his chest as he dropped to one knee. TCH, you've got some skill. He frowned at Jaden. What was going on? This kid didn't seem like the bottom of Duel Academy at all. Didn't Black Flame say he'd done his research? Wasn't this kid supposed to be the weakest in Slifer Red? This was their academy's worst student? The Necromancer was almost relieved he'd come himself. If he'd sent someone else from his branch, they might not have been a match for this spiky-haired kid. The Duelist Kingdom had just begun, and his branch had already suffered a double defeat by 2 academy students. If word got out, he'd be finished as branch chief. Maybe the whole department would be in trouble. Good thing he'd come in person. The Necromancer stood, humming. I underestimated you, but it doesn't matter. At the end of this turn, Destiny Board activates again. He raised his hand. Spirit message. Destiny Board activated once more. A third ghostly spirit appeared, clutching the third letter of death. A. D. E. A. Now 3 out of 5 letters for death. Time's running out, Jaden, the Necromancer said coldly. You're one step closer to death. Jaden fell silent. Thunder Giant exploded in a burst of energy, vanishing from the field. Because of gravity bind, Thunder Giant can't attack. And since he was fusion summoned with flash fusion, he's destroyed at the end of the turn. My turn ends. Ha ha ha, seems you're out of options. The Necromancer declared, now it's my turn. Draw. First, spell card, spell books from the pot. Both players draw 3 cards from their decks. Manga card. He glanced at his new cards, then burst out laughing. Next, from my hand, I activate this card. Spell card, 1 Day of Peace. A green card shimmered in his back row, casting a faint golden glow over the field. 1 Day of Peace. Both players draw a card from their deck. The Necromancer drew, smiling eerily. But until the end of your next turn, all damage, battle or effect becomes 0. I see, Jaden nodded. With that card, I can't deal any damage at all. Exactly. So you can do nothing but sit there, powerless, for your next turn. The Necromancer's laughter was sharp and twisted. After a while, he stopped and asked with a sneer, do you hear it? Hey! Jaden was puzzled. The footsteps of the Grim Reaper drawing closer and closer, the Necromancer said darkly. Your time is almost up. Ha ha ha, yeah, it's a real headache, Jaden scratched his head. Just 2 more turns and I'll lose, and now there's nothing I can do next turn, what a pain. The Necromancer raised an eyebrow. Why wasn't this guy scared? Was he actually enjoying this situation? If you can't deal damage, you have to wait until the last possible turn to decide the outcome. Jaden mused. Destiny Board, hey. Never thought I'd see this legendary tactic in person. Awesome. The Necromancer. Was this kid insane? Did he not understand the words lose and you die? TCH, such a carefree brat. The Necromancer scoffed. Then let me give you even more pressure. Spell card, card of burial magic. Banish 3 spell cards from the graveyard, Pot of Greed, Mystical Space Typhoon, and 1 Day of Peace, to draw 2 cards. Anime card. He drew 2 more cards. Then, I normal summon a second Marshmallow. Marshmallow, ATK 300. Ah, this monster again. Jaden tilted his head. A monster that can't be destroyed by battle. It's getting even trickier. He said it casually, as if nothing was wrong, showing no sign of the tension that comes with I'm about to die. The Necromancer frowned again. Did this kid have absolute confidence, or was he just an idiot? In the anime, Jaden did start feeling pressure from Shadow Games, starting with the Sacred Beasts arc. He even had nightmares about losing his friends. For a while, the always cheerful boy almost couldn't smile. But back then, he feared losing and dragging his friends down. He worried about others. Now, even if this was a duel for life, it seemed like only his own life was at stake. So Jaden immersed himself fully in the duel, almost forgetting about life and death. So many weird students at Duel Academy this year. The necromancer muttered, setting 2 more cards into his duel disc. Set 2 cards. Turn end. PS, 2 bonus chapters at 1000 PS. Chapter 321, The Final Turn? It's my turn. Draw. Jaden drew a card. There were only 2 letters left for Destiny board, meaning he only had 2 turns left to act. But in this turn, because of 1 day of peace, he couldn't inflict any damage, in any form. So in reality, he only had 1 actual turn left to do anything meaningful. With that in mind, Jaden quickly glanced at his hand. Then, a thought struck him. No, maybe it wasn't that he couldn't do anything at all. Even if he couldn't deal damage, that wasn't his only option. Destiny board was a continuous trap. Each turn, a continuous spell representing a letter of death would appear from the deck. Only when all 5 traps and spells were on the field would victory by effect be declared. So perhaps Jaden had an idea. He resolved himself and revealed a card in his hand. Activate spell card, Hero's Legacy. If you have at least 2 level 4 or higher hero monsters in your graveyard, draw 3 cards from your deck. Manga effect. Jaden drew 3 cards. Here it comes. His eyes lit up as he played another card from his hand. Spell card, Emergency Call. I can add any elemental hero from my deck to my hand. Jaden pulled a card from his deck. I add elemental hero Avian to my hand. Then, I activate the spell card Polymerization. A fusion vortex appeared. Avian's figure materialized on the field and, along with Wildheart, was enveloped in golden light and sucked into the vortex. 2 rays of light intertwined, a transparent storm erupted, and feathers drifted down like snow. Elemental Hero Wild Wingman, Fusion Summon. Elemental Hero Wild Wingman, ATK 1900. Wild Wingman's effect, I can discard a card to destroy any spell or trap on the field. Jaden discarded a card to the graveyard. Destroy the continuous trap, Destiny board. So that's your plan to target my back row since you can't deal damage this turn, the necromancer realized. If Destiny board is destroyed, all the death message cards disappear. And if you also destroy Gravity Bind next, my attack lockdown will be gone too. If that happened, the duel would turn around instantly. The necromancer's slow, turtle-like defensive tactics were all based on Destiny board's countdown to victory. Once Destiny board was gone, he'd lose his win condition and would be in real danger if Jaden went on the offensive. Destiny board and the death messages may result in a rules victory, but they're just spells and traps destroy them and it all collapses. Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for such an obvious weakness? The necromancer laughed loudly. I activate my set card, Counter Trap Divine Wrath. Hey! Jaden was stunned. The trap flipped up, and a golden bolt of lightning struck Wild Wingman. In an instant, Wild Wingman was blasted to pieces. Divine Wrath. By discarding a card, I can negate a monster's effect and destroy it, the necromancer boasted. Too bad. Wild Wingman could destroy back row by discarding cards. You could have cleared my entire back row in 1 turn if you had enough ammo. He was the perfect hero to break this situation, and summoning him now was impressive. But this is where it ends, my dueling is just a step ahead. His eyes narrowed as if savoring the sight of his prey's struggle. Struggle with all your might. The more desperate the struggle, the more beautiful defeat and death become. Kikik. So even Wild Wingman couldn't break through. I'll set 1 card face down and end my turn, Jaden said, slightly disappointed. Not bad. But death's footsteps won't stop, the necromancer said, his smile chilling. At the end of this turn, Destiny board's effect continues. Come forth the penultimate death message. Yet another ghostly spirit appeared, carrying a new letter. The letter T. Now, DEAT had assembled on the field. Just 1 letter, H, remained. When Jaden's next turn ended, the final letter would appear, and everything would truly be over. Jaden suddenly noticed something odd. Wait a second. Destiny board and 3 death messages occupy 4 spell/trap zones. And you still have Gravity Bind and a set card back there. Everyone knows there are only 5 spell/trap zones. The necromancer's back row should already be full. This was another weakness of the Destiny board system, To assemble all 5 death messages, you had to fill your whole back row, which could clog your own field. Only now do you notice? Normally, yes. But for us, the chosen ones, this duel is beyond the bounds of common sense. The necromancer raised his voice. Seal of Orichalcos has another effect. The controller can use their monster and spell/trap zones interchangeably. I can summon monsters in spell/trap zones, and activate spells and traps in monster zones. Ooh, so that's what it does, Jaden said, surprised. Wow, that's awesome. You could summon 10 monsters, or set 10 spells and traps that way. Feel the pain, struggle, and then despair. Be consumed by power. Ha 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 ha. The necromancer laughed loudly. And now, it's my turn. Draw. The necromancer drew, then smirked. First, I activate my set card, Continuous Trap Safe Zone. This card can only be equipped to an attack position monster, so I equip it to my Marshmallow in attack position. A golden barrier shielded Marshmallow. While protected by Safe Zone, this monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and it cannot be targeted by card effects. Can't be destroyed or targeted by any effect, hey, Jaden said. That's as solid as a wall. Impressive. Exactly. Now, I switch Marshmallow to defense position. It's now my ultimate shield, the necromancer sneered. It can't be targeted or destroyed. To defeat me, you must first break through this absolute defense. He glanced at his hand. Well, even though I'm pretty much invincible now, I'll play it safe. He set another card and ended his turn. Chapter 322, Provocation. Alright, my turn. Draw. Jaden declared, still full of fighting spirit. The necromancer frowned. Destiny board was his favorite strategy, not just because he was good at it, but because he enjoyed watching opponents being cornered step by step, their futile struggle turning into despair and madness as death closed in. He loved watching his opponents struggle. But this boy, even at this point, his fighting spirit hadn't faded. In fact, the more desperate the situation, the stronger his will to fight seemed to become. After a moment, the necromancer couldn't help but ask, "Don't you ever feel scared?" Hey! Jaden was puzzled. Scared of what? Scared of what? Wasn't it obvious? The necromancer felt this guy's brain was wired wrong. The loser in this barrier loses their soul. Don't you know that? Oh, that? Yeah, I know. Jaden nodded. If you're asking whether I'm afraid to die, of course I am. Dying's scary, right? If I die, I'll never get another chance to duel. Necromancer. No, that's not the point. But right now, I'm having an intense duel with a legendary, one-of-a-kind deck, Jaden grinned. Doing something this fun, I don't have time to be scared. Necromancer. What is he even saying? I can't understand this guy. He was sure now. This guy's a total card fanatic, logic completely out of whack. And besides, you say I'll die if I lose, but if I win, then problem solved. Jaden said carelessly. What a joke. This is your last turn. When it ends, the death message will complete, and you lose. How are you going to win? I don't know. Jaden replied cheerfully. Necromancer. That's why it's exciting. Even I don't know how to break out of this. But that's what makes dueling fun. Who knows what will happen next? Welcome to Kakegurui Jaden LOL. Necromancer. Seriously, now I really don't get it. First, I'll trust this card. Spell card, Fusion Birth. Manga card. Jaden played a spell card. Send the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If they include the correct fusion materials, you can fusion summon using them. Necromancer frowned. You're leaving everything to luck. It's not luck, it's skill. I'm confident in my draws, Jaden said confidently. I don't know what those 5 cards will be, but I always believe in my deck. Draw. He milled 5 cards. Jaden's eyes lit up. He immediately revealed 2 of them. Elemental Hero Bubblemon and King of the Swamp, who can substitute for any fusion material. Jaden said. I substitute King of the Swamp for Elemental Hero Avian and fuse with Bubblemon. Wings that ride the wind combine with the power of water. Elemental Hero Mariner, Fusion Summon. Elemental Hero Mariner, ATK 1400. Mariner. The necromancer was confused. A fusion hero with only 1400 ATK. I set a card from my hand, Jaden smiled. Mariner's effect, if there is a face-down card in my spell/trap zone, it can attack your life points directly. The necromancer understood. I see. Since you can't break through Marshmallow, you're going to bypass my front line and attack me directly. He smirked. But Mariner only has 1400 ATK. Even with a direct attack, I'll have 1100 life points left. And if you can't defeat me this turn, you still lose. I know. But the 5 cards Fusion Birth sent to the graveyard weren't just Lemon and King of the Swamp, Jaden said. A translucent hero appeared behind him. Elemental Hero Necroshade. I also sent Elemental Hero Necroshade to the graveyard. When Necroshade is in the graveyard, I can normal summon a level 5 or higher Elemental Hero without tribute, once. Jaden slapped down another monster. Therefore, I normal summon Elemental Hero Blood Edge without tribute. Elemental Hero Blood Edge, ATK 2600. The Necromancer's expression changed. That one's effect. That's right, Blood Edge deals piercing damage when it attacks a defense position monster, Jaden said. Even if the monster isn't destroyed, you still take battle damage. Marshmallow's def is 500. Blood Edge attacking Marshmallow deals 2100 piercing damage. Add Mariner's direct attack and that's 3500 damage. Necromancer LP, 2500. I see, so your total attack output really does reach that high. But aren't you forgetting something? The Necromancer narrowed his eyes. Both Blood Edge and Mariner are level 4 or higher. Under Gravity Bind, they can't attack. I know, Jaden replied. So I activate my face-down trap stun. This turn, all other traps on the field are negated. Ha 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 ha. The Necromancer laughed. Nice. Such a counterattack in your last turn. You're even better than I expected. His expression grew even more twisted beneath his laughter. That only makes you a more delicious prey. So, before trap stun resolves, I chain another trap taunt. This can only be activated during your main phase 1. Choose one of my monsters this turn, all your attacks must target that monster. Hey! Jaden was stunned. He could only attack a specific monster in this case. He looked at Marshmallow. Haha, that's right. This turn, your Mariner can't attack directly, it has to attack my Marshmallow, the Necromancer chuckled. And Mariner doesn't have piercing, so I'll only take Blade Edge's 2100 piercing damage. I'll still have 400 life points left. And you have no other way to attack. This trap forced him to deal with Marshmallow first. It's really impressive that you made it this far, Jaden. Just off a blind fusion birth, you managed a desperate counterattack. No wonder you're so confident in your draws, I can see why. The Necromancer smiled darkly. But it's useless. Your struggle is meaningless, just makes your despair more dramatic. When this turn ends, Destiny Board will complete, and you'll have no chance left. Jaden, yeah, this is a bit of a problem. Or maybe not. A voice came from the side. Both duelists reflexively turned to look. When the Necromancer saw who it was, his pupil shrank. Fujiki Kira? Announcement. Monthly poll on Patreon. Chapter 324, Chapter 323, The Shadow Hero of Justice. The Necromancer was shocked. Fujiki Kira? The mission target appeared directly. Kira. Jaden was also surprised, scratching his head sheepishly. Ahaha, you caught me. But this opponent really is tough, he's using a legendary duelist strategy. Amazing, hey. Kira smiled. Destiny Board, hey. Just seeing it triggered nostalgia for Battle City, and a faint memory of Zork in the heavens. There are people who are already dead, but just don't realize it yet, Kira said casually, glancing at the Necromancer and smiling gently. Marshmallow looks like an impenetrable wall at first glance. But you should know there's no such thing as an unbeatable monster, or an absolute deadlock. Even the legendary Egyptian gods were overcome by the King of Games. Kira smiled, eyes narrowing. You've seen my soul, my ace. You should get what I mean, right, Jaden? Jaden blinked. Kira's soul and ace, the BLS? But he didn't have anything as strong as BLS. A monster with such easy summoning conditions, with both field clearing and finishing effects. Even in all of duel monsters, that was. Wait, could it be? Jaden's eyes lit up. Suddenly, he understood what Kira was hinting at. He couldn't help but grin, then burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Only you, Kira. That's just your style. Kira folded his arms and smiled, saying no more. Sure enough, Jaden had watched so many of his duels, he'd picked up his way of thinking. Only the necromancer was still in the dark. What are you two talking about? Oh, nothing. Just discussing a fun way to finish you off, Jaden said cheerfully. Hat, what are you talking about? The necromancer scoffed. With my absolute defense, once this turn ends. Sorry, but it looks like this turn will never end, Jaden grinned. I activate my set spell card Miracle Fusion. I can banish monsters from my graveyard to perform an elemental hero fusion summon. He revealed 2 cards from his graveyard. I banish Elemental Hero Wildheart and Elemental Hero Necroshade from my graveyard to fusion summon. Elemental Hero Necro Shaman. Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman, ATK 1900. A shaman-like figure appeared, wild red hair and a fearsome mask, exuding an ominous aura. A fusion hero with 1900 ATK. The necromancer frowned. I don't know what you're up to, but even if you summon more monsters, with Marshmallow out you still can't break through. It's not the effect, it's the cost, Jaden smiled. Necroid Shaman's effect: when special summoned, tribute an opponent's monster to activate its effect, then I can special summon a monster from your graveyard to your field. Anime effect. Necromancer. What? Tribute an opponent's monster to special summon a monster from their graveyard? This was the original anime effect of Necroid Shaman. The real card was changed to destroy an opponent's monster, then special summon a monster from their graveyard. To a new player, the difference might not seem big, but actually, it's huge. Tribute an opponent's monster to activate, that's the cost, just like using Lava Golem to eat an opponent's monster. That's why Kira used his soul and ace as a hint for Jaden. Can't be targeted, can't be destroyed? No problem, just eat it. Even full immunity, unaffected by all effects? Still works. So, I tribute your Marshmallow, Jaden said with a grin. Then revive another Marshmallow from your graveyard in attack position, of course. Necroid Shaman's ritual swept Marshmallow away, along with the safe zone protecting it, turning them into points of light that vanished in the magical storm. Then, those lights gathered and reformed into Marshmallow, now in attack position. Marshmallow, ATK 300. And of course, your Marshmallow is affected by the seal of Orichalcos and gains 500 attack points, Jaden smiled. Marshmallow, ATK 300 800. But that boost barely mattered. The little marshmallow stood there, surrounded by 3 big heroes, looking helpless and weak. What the hell? The necromancer shouted in disbelief. Elemental heroes even had cheap tricks like Lava Golem? A shadow hero, hey? Necro Shaman, with its eerie mask and underworld magic, really did have a sinister vibe. Time for battle. Jaden punched the air. Elemental Hero Blood Edge, Elemental Hero Mariner, Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman attack Marshmallow. Elemental Hero Blood Edge, ATK 2600. Elemental Hero Mariner, ATK 1400. Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman, ATK 1900. Marshmallow, ATK 800. The little Marshmallow was pinned down by 3 burly heroes, unable to fight back. Water flowed over its soft body, a blade sliced through, and finally, a blast of dark shamanic energy finished it off. Even though Marshmallow couldn't be destroyed by battle, the damage went through just fine. The hero's attacks pierced right through Marshmallow and struck the necromancer, blasting him across the dueling field and into the green barrier, then down to the ground like a rag doll. Necromancer, LP 2500. Chapter 325, Chapter 324, Duels should be fun. Necromancer, LP 0. Necromancer stumbled and knelt on the ground, his face still full of unwillingness even as his LP hit 0. It was so close. He had reached the final turn of Destiny Board's activation. He only needed to survive until the end of this turn, and if he could trigger the final message of death, victory would be his. If only he could reach the end phase. But that tiny difference became an eternal chasm. That end phase would never come, he would never see the moment Destiny Board was completed. Even in his last moments, Necromancer's eyes glared fixedly at the Necroid Shaman on Jaden's field. Necroid Shaman. It was this damned elemental hero that tributed his unbeatable Marshmallow, stealing away his chance at victory. Sacrificing an elemental hero, can you believe it? Is that really what an elemental hero is supposed to do? As the barrier closed in, Kira stepped forward, smiling as he lightly bumped fists with Jaden. Not bad, Jaden, Kira said with a smile. Looks like you've understood what I meant. Haha, it's because I've seen your lava golem a few times, Kira, so I thought of it right away. Jaden's eyes sparkled with excitement. But this card really is amazing. I think I'm starting to understand why you like lava golem so much, Kira. Even monsters with this level of defensive resistance can be dealt with easily. It's really fun and gives a great sense of accomplishment. Necromancer, whose soul was already being drawn away by the shrinking barrier, heard the two chatting just before he passed, and felt his blood boil. Sense of accomplishment, your ass. In that instant, Necromancer understood. The joy of dueling is always built on the pain of your opponent, accomplishment is built on your opponent's frustration. For every bit of happiness you have, the other side has an equal bit of depression. Necromancer let out a long, bitter sigh. Oh, gods, forgive me. I really did my best. If, in his dying moments, he had any last regret or wish, it would be that the so-called bottom dweller of the Red Dorm, Black Flame, who boasted so much, would hurry up and get sent here to accompany Lord Serpent. Bottom dweller? Last place? That jellyfish-haired guy? F***CKU. Necromancer collapsed face down, completely lifeless. Jaden looked at the person lying on the ground, at a loss for words. What's wrong? Kira smiled, stepping forward and patting him on the shoulder. Don't you think that was an interesting duel? Ah, well. Jaden glanced uneasily at Necromancer, who was now completely unresponsive. How should I put it? Although I felt the fun of dueling, and it was an interesting duel in itself, I just feel like, maybe this isn't the right time to say so. Kira was surprised. Wow, you actually know when something's not appropriate to say? He'd always thought that was Jaden's natural taunting skill. Dueling should be fun after all, it should be something everyone can enjoy together. Jaden shook his head. But duels where someone has to pay with their life. Kira glanced sideways. Are you going to say this isn't even a real duel? Actually, Kira didn't feel too strongly about Jaden's dueling should be fun philosophy. After all, in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, dueling is inherently cruel across generations. There have always been duels with heavy burdens, and perhaps such things have always been brutal rituals to determine victory. And even putting that aside, even just as a card game, Kira realized early on that this was a harsh game. How harsh? So harsh that only one person ever really gets to play, and the other just gets played. What kind of everyone's happy together duel is that? Jaden looked at Kira and suddenly declared, Kira, we have to defeat this organization and stop them from going any further. Of course. Kira nodded firmly. For the sake of protecting what dueling stands for, and the future of the dueling world, this dangerous organization with these wrong-headed ideas must be crushed. With a smile, he bent down and pulled Necromancer's deck from his duel disc. As someone using dark powers, Necromancer's deck could never be allowed to remain. Even if Kira didn't take it, the management Kaiba Corp would come and confiscate it. Once confiscated, the deck would naturally go to Kaiba Corp. Given his relationship with Mokuba, Kira figured that if he asked, getting such a deck would hardly be an issue. So by doing this, he was just saving everyone some trouble. When the cleanup crew arrived, they wouldn't have to confiscate the deck, nor do inventory, registration, etc. Kira wouldn't have to apply, and the staff would be spared extra work. The result was the same, the process was just streamlined. Everyone wins. At the same time, Kira found a puzzle card on the corpse, representing entry to Duel City. But he didn't keep this card. Instead, he handed it to Jaden. Jaden had won this duel, so the puzzle card naturally belonged to him. And here are the rare cards, Kira said, spreading out the deck he'd just taken. Pick whatever you like. Jaden shook his head. I don't want any of them. Well, the tournament rules say otherwise. If you really don't want to, just pick one at random, eyes closed. After some polite pushing, Jaden drew one at random to satisfy the rules. Though interested in the Destiny board deck, he only cared to face it as an opponent. He himself was a die-hard hero user, never once considering changing his main deck. But I really didn't expect it. They were after me, but even targeted you. Kira frowned. Jaden asked curiously, why are they after us? I have something they want, Kira replied. I guess they think we're close, so they tried to use you against me. That's scary. Jaden sucked in a breath. He didn't care much about himself. Even a shadow game with his life on the line could be fun, to him. But if his friends were involved, he became immediately anxious. Yet. Kira shook his head repeatedly. Truly shameless, stooping so low just to deal with two completely ordinary Duel Academy students. Exactly. Jaden was indignant. To use such tactics on ordinary students, can those really be called duelists? Right? That's why letting these people run amok is too dangerous. Fortunately, I'm working with Kaiba Corp, and we already have leads. Then let's go together. Jaden agreed. We can't just let people like that have their way.
Thanks for listening.